Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining in. This is CIA Part 3, Session 1, Unit 1. I've already set the context in the orientation program where I have taken you all through the entire weightage of the part 3 from a unit perspective, from a section perspective. So we are starting with the first unit, which is on strategic management and planning. Okay, so this is part of which section? Anyone? Can you all tell me which section are we talking about?
Business acumen.
This is section 1, business acumen. What is the total weightage of this section, folks? This is
35%.
35%. Perfect. So as we complete the first 4 units, we are done with 35% of the part 3. So we are in unit 1, strategic management and planning, folks. This is one of the simple unit, but critical unit. Few of the things you have to remember from examination perspective in this particular unit. So we will be covering and focusing on those key things as well. Okay. So let's start with the first unit, which is strategic management and planning. Strategic management and planning, we have just 2 subunits in this: strategic management and planning itself and globalization. So there are 2 subunits in this particular unit. What we are going to study as part of this unit 1, folks, is when we are starting with strategic management and planning, the first key concept that we will understand is what is strategy, what is strategic management, and what is planning. Okay, so those are the 3 key terms and basic terms that we'll understand. We'll understand what is target market and what is strategic market. So how do we differentiate between target market and strategic market? Is that something that we are going to understand? After that, we will understand what is the concept of SBU. So what is strategic business unit? How do we understand it from a practical standpoint of view? So what is the concept of SBU? Then strategic control measures effectiveness of. So what does strategic control measures effectiveness measures at? Is it at internal level, external level? If at internal level, at what levels? And if at external level, at with what context, basically? Okay, so at which level strategic controls are measured? Business unit level, operating system level, or department level? And at which level, what do we monitor? So that is all that we are going to understand. After that, we are going to understand what are strategic goals, what are tactical goals, what are operational goals. Phases for organizational planning. So this is again important that when we are doing organization planning, what are the phases for it? We'll understand what is management by objectives and what is management by means. So we'll understand MBO and MBM. We'll understand different types of synergies. And now this is very, very important, guys. What are the different types of synergy? How do we differentiate when we are talking about market synergy, when we are talking about cost synergy, technological synergy, management synergy? So with some example, we'll understand how to remember and how to differentiate. Okay, when we're talking about market, what do we are talking about market? When we're talking about management synergy, what are the key things that we have to remember? Okay, are you all clear so far? Can I hear the word yes from everyone? Are you all with me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
sir.
All right, perfect. So as I said, we have so far understood the basics of the strategy management plan, strategic management planning. We have understood what is target market, strategic control measures, phases for organization planning, MBO, MBM. And as I said, then we will focus on synergy. Okay, so understanding different types of synergy. After that, understanding different operation strategy. So under operation strategy, we'll have cost strategy, quality strategy, delivery strategy, flexibility strategy, service strategy. We'll understand these are very basic, but yes, we have to remember it that, okay, these are the different types of strategy. And when we talk about cost strategy, what are we talking about? When we are talking about quality strategy, what are we talking about? Okay, then we'll understand competitive strategies, scope and advantage. So there is 2 things from a scope point of view. One is broad scope and the second is narrow scope. And similarly, from an advantage point of view, we have 2 things, either a low cost advantage or a unique product as an advantage. So this is important. This is very critical. Competitive strategies. We have actually four types of competitive strategies: cost leadership, differential strategy, focus strategy at a cost level, and focus strategy differentiation level. Okay, so these are the 4 competitive strategies. Another very, very important part of unit 1, subunit 1 also. Okay, so far 2 important things that I've talked about. One is synergy. Synergy is very, very important. Few things we have to also remember from a strategic control measures also. So what do we measure at business unit level? What do we measure at operating system unit level? What do we measure at departmental level? This is also important from examination perspective. Okay, folks. So strategic control measures, synergies, operational strategies, competitive strategies. This is very, very important from examination point of view. Another very, very important topic when we are going to cover the subunit 1 will be on growth share matrix. Okay, so on the growth share matrix, there are two axes to look up for. One is called as a market share, and the other is business growth rate. Okay, BGR and MS, which is business growth rate and market share. And based on the two axes, which is business growth rate and market share, we identify SBUs in different quadrants, and we categorize them as either cash cows or dogs or question marks and as stars. So when do we categorize a SBU as a cash cow? And when do we categorize a SBU as a dog or as a question mark or as a star? This is very, very important from examination perspective. We have to remember, okay, when we are talking about cash cow, is it a high market share, high business growth rate thing, or is it a low market share, low business growth rate, low BGR thing? So we are going to understand that, and we have to remember that as well from examination perspective. Okay, so once we are through with the growth share matrix, we'll understand which strategy is to be used in which scenario. So whether we should follow whole strategy, whether we follow harvest strategy, whether do we follow build strategy or divest strategy, under which particular growth share matrix. So that is something that we are going to understand. And then we will understand competitive strategies and Porter's 5 forces. And finally, the last topic would be understanding firm orientation from a product-centered point of view, competitor-centered point of view, customer-centered point of view, and market-centered point of view. Our target for today would be largely 100% completion of the subunit 1, and maybe touch upon on the globalization as a topic. So, but definitely we are going to cover subunit 1.1. and we'll try to cover some of the topics on globalization as well. So when we'll read globalization, our largely focus would be on the foreign market entry strategies. Let's say if an organization want to enter into the foreign market, what are the different strategies they have, whether they get into licensing, direct investment, whether they get into joint venture model, or it could be any other thing. And which is and now this is again a very, very important topic to understand, which is the riskiest step or riskiest strategy when we are entering to a foreign market, and which is least riskiest from a foreign market entry strategy point of view. So those will be another important points to be remembered from examination point of view. Then we will have one more important topic in globalization, that will be on strategies of global market organization, which will be mostly on multinational strategy, global strategy, international strategy, and multi-local strategy. Again, how do we differentiate what is multinational, what is global, what is international, what is multi-local? Again, that will be important to understand and remember. So that is what we are going to understand when we are going to read the topic globalization. So that's the critical learning that is going to be in this chapter or in this unit, folks. Are you all clear what we are going to study? Of course, when we complete each of these, critically some of the subunit topics, will come back and see and reflect back whether we are able to understand all of it or not. So is it clear? Are you all with me? Can I quickly hear the word yes from everyone before we get into the detail of the unit?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
All right.
Sir, my request is just like the last time, when keep on moving, please make sure that you advise us what is more important, what is less important in terms of examination.
Of course, Amit, don't worry about that.
Thanks.
Yeah. So folks, let's start with the first thing on the strategic management and planning. So we are starting with the first unit, folks. So just once again, can I hear the word yes from everyone? Are you all with me? Because now we are starting and going through the complete content of LEM.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Diana, Dhriti, Jacqueline, Nitin,
Yes,
Saishi, Shayan, Soumya.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Venkatracha, Yogendra. You're all with me, right? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect, guys. So we're starting with the first subunit, folks. See, as I said, now if you'll go through this, it says that the domain 1, which is on the business acumen, this makes up to 35% of the part 3 of the CIA exam. One topic from a business acumen they have included is as data analytics, which we have any which ways parked as part of our second and third section, which is on the IT, because data analytics is part of the unit 7. Okay, so don't worry, just think it that this is all 35% that we have to this will give us 35% from the exam. And see, some of the topics will be tested at basic and proficient cognitive levels. See, basic, when it says, it means the basic understanding it should have, and then we have proficient. So proficient is like we should have a thorough knowledge on it. But anyway, this is something that is, some of the topics are categorized as basic and proficient. Under your GLIM, you will see that categorization being there in your annexures. So if you want to refer to it, you can do that. Otherwise, any which ways, we'll cover everything. And towards the end of the session, we'll surely call out that what will be more important from examination perspective and where we need to focus on. Okay, so are we all clear? Can we start now? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So strategic management and planning, folks, it's very simple. So what is strategy now? What is strategy? Strategy is a plan to allocate resources and actions to succeed in entity's competitive environment, obtain a competitive advantage, and attain its highest level goals. So basically, as a strategy, what we are doing is we are just planning. We are just planning to allocate the resources as an organization, resources and action to succeed the entity in a competitive environment, obtain a competitive advantage over other competitors, and attain the highest level goals. That is basically a strategy. Okay. What is strategic management now? Strategic management is a set of decisions and activities needed to create strategies and implement them effectively. So guys, this is a quick plain read. So don't worry, we'll just take it up through whatever is there in the content, because as part of the protocol, or as part of the study format that we do, we completely read everything in the session. Okay, so all those who are newcomers, especially, don't think that it is just a plain vanilla read. It is wherever there will be a focus point, or wherever there will be certain examples that are required, or let's say wherever it will be critical to understand, I will myself bring all the focus there. So wherever it is, let's say it is something which is plain vanilla and it's a simple thing, we'll just take a quick read and we'll continue to move forward. Okay, in case you still have any doubt, please do raise your hand and you can ask any queries. Since this is the first session, I'm just setting that context again. Okay, so strategy, folks, as I said, strategy is a plan to allocate resources and actions to succeed in the entity competitive environment, obtain a competitive advantage, and attain the highest level goals. Strategic management is a set of decisions and activities needed to create strategies and implement them effectively. Now, planning, guys, planning generally involves setting goals and specifying the means to be used. What are the goals that we have set, and what are the means that we should implement so that we can reach to that goals? Plans must be established at each level of a complex organization. It's not that we have to have a plan at a top level only. It could be at an operational level, it could be a unit level, it could be a division level, it could be a geographical level. So plan must be established at each level of a complex organization. Now, one thing that you have to remember is what is the first step of planning? So what is the first step in a planning? So folks, this is something that you have to remember, that the first step is writing the mission statement. Okay, so if you see any organization that normally is set up with one thing, that is what will be my mission and what is the vision for the company, right? So the first step in planning is having the mission statement. Now, who does it write? Who writes the mission statement? Any idea, folks? Who writes the mission statement? If an examiner asks you that who writes the mission statement,
what basically the company board, the board of directors.
The board of directors.
The board of directors. Please do call out your name, folks, so that everyone knows who is speaking. And of course, yes, the answer is correct. Okay, so right. So folks, it's the board of directors who normally write the mission statement, who basically propose a mission statement. And can anyone go back to the basic and tell to the other members? Board of directors covers whom? Is it only the board of directors, or there are other terms that we use for board of directors that we have studied in the earlier parts? Anyone?
Sir, it's like governing body or...
Yes, Pranjal, you're speaking. You have to call out your name. Okay.
Yeah.
So Pranjal is saying it's a highest governing body. It can be name of anyone. It can be name of
audit committee. This is Vijay.
Yeah, Vijay is saying it could be an audit committee. Okay, and
to be Venkatesh, your CEO, CFOs.
CEO, CFO will be the part of the board, Venkatesh. No, so normally board of directors is the highest governing body. We call it as board of governors. Yes, audit committee is let's say if audit committee is appointed, normally it is more seen from a context of internal audit point of view, not from a mission statement point of view. But yes, okay, that is something that we've studied as part of part one. But we have also understood that yes, board of directors could be trustees also, right? So can you all recall that now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So board of directors, basically, guys, don't confuse yourself. Board of directors is nothing. It's the highest governing body. It could be trustees. It could be board of governors. It could be in any other name also. Okay. So, but normally it's the highest governing body. So at a strategic level now, so are we all clear? So the first thing that we start from a planning perspective is what? It's a
Mission statement.
Mission statement, which is drafted by generally the board of directors. Okay. So at a strategic level, a mission statement is drafted generally by the board of directors to explain the organization purposes and values. It is also the ultimate basis for the goals and plans at each level of the organization, and also and for stating the organization's primary competitive scopes. The scope may extend to industries, products and services, applications, core competencies, market segments, degree of vertical integration, and geographical markets, which means that the scope of a mission statement could be specific to an industry. It could be for specific products or services, applications, core competencies, market segments, degree of vertical integration, and geographical markets. Businesses should be defined in market terms, that is in terms of needs and customer groups. Sorry, there is some disturbance at some level. Can you keep yourself on mute, Bhanu? My request is whoever is not speaking, keep yourself on mute. Yeah. So before moving on, Shan, you had a query. You were raising hand.
Yes, Arpit. Shine here. Does the MD CEO can be a part of the board of directors?
See, board of directors is normally there are members in the board of directors. Okay, so normally board of directors is a group of people, right? It's not a single board. So MD or CEO could be part of a member of the board of directors, which is generally seen, but it depends on organization to organization where depending on the, let's say if it is a listed company, you will also see independent members as part of the board. Let's say if it is more of an investor driven company, you will see representative from the investor side as part of the board. And normally the CEO or the managing director is part of the board. Normally that is seen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But as a group, we have to see the mission statement is coming as a group from the board of directors. So it's basically a highest governing body. That's what I was trying to say. Okay. It's not a single person approving it. It's a total board approving it. Okay. So we'll normally have a minutes to it, and that will be approved accordingly, which will be documented, approved. Okay. All right. So folks, businesses should be defined in market terms, that is in terms of needs and customer groups. Moreover, distinction should be made between a target market definition and a strategic market definition. So now this is important to understand what is target market and what is strategic market. Okay. So target market is basically focusing on something very specific, guys. So let's say for example, if you are into a risk advisory segment and you want to target market only for internal audit services, okay, so then what is your target market? It is only internal audit service. However, a strategic market would be the entire risk galaxy or risk advisory services as a whole, where it could be any other thing. Let's say for let's say not only just internal audit services, it could be ESG services, it could be CSA services, it could be TPRM, it could be cyber security, IT risk management, it could be multiple services in the risk advisory segment, right? So similarly, so target market is where you're specifically targeting for a kind of service, kind of a product, kind of a segment you want to target on. However, a strategic market is per se from a holistic point of view. Okay, so that's the difference between what is a target market and a strategic market. So one classic example could be a target market could be a target market for a railroad might be freight hauling, but a strategic market might be transportation of any goods and people. Okay, so basically it could be from a transportation industry, it could be just maybe a target market could be let's say only a transportation of goods segment only through let's say road transport. However, a strategic market could be transportation of goods and people from any industry point of view. It could be from airline point of view. It could be from railway point of view. It could be from road point of view. So target market is very focused. very specific, and strategic market is more from a holistic point of view. Is that clear?
Sir, beside this, we can say the target market is where I'm currently operating, and my strategic market is where in the future I want to shift to.
See, I will not say the target market is where I'm working. Target market is where I am aspiring also to work, right? So target market is like where I am looking forward. It's very narrow, where it's very specific, I would say. Target market doesn't mean that you're already working. You may plan to work also, right? Strategic market becomes more, it gives more from a holistic point of view. That is how I see it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. All right. So moving on now, a
Arpit?
business.
Jyoti this side. Can we say that the target market is a part of the strategic market?
Yes, you can say strategic market is more from holistic point of view. Target market is more specific. Yes.
Yeah.
Anish, go ahead.
Yeah, Arpit, so this target market can be used to comply any regulations also, like SOX regulations. It can be interpreted
From a
in
risk
that
advisory
term.
segment, yes, you can say that. Okay, let's say for our target market is we want to, let's say for a very classic example is UK is coming with SOX in the coming years, right? So
Yeah.
there's a white paper which is already announced. So now target market could be handling UK SOX for UK companies. So that becomes a target market. Strategic market is giving end-to-end services from a risk advisory services to the UK companies. Like that could be a strategic market. Or let's say it could be a different market altogether, which is less robust in nature, less explored. That could be a strategic market where we want to give complete services.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay, all right. So business also may be defined with respect to customer groups and their needs and the technologies required to satisfy those needs. Of course, now this is important, guys. Another concept is of SBU. What is strategic business unit? Okay, so strategic business unit is basically, folks, is individual business unit that is that is independent, and that plays a role of independence in an organization. Let's say there is a strategic business unit for ABC division. Okay, so what happens is now ABC division has its own budget, will have its own project manager, will have its own resource sourcing team, will have most of it in a segregated manner. And now the person who is handling that SBU, basically strategic business unit, is responsible for managing the resources, having the targets for the company, bringing in profitability for the company. So it's an individual SBU. So normally what happens is where the company want to want to segregate the policies. Okay, want to have a different policies for each SBU. So they will bring in a concept of SBUs. Okay, so let's take an example of, let's say, Zomato. So Zomato may have a SBU which could have a strategic business unit as a restaurant business, where they, through the mobile application, want to deal into providing end customer into B2C model, the services from supply chain services or supply chain services to the B2C segment. There could be another SBU which will be into B2B, which is, let's say, hyper-pure. So what is happening is Zomato want to come into a supply chain management process of B2B segment, where they are handling, where they're helping these restaurants and other business value chains from a supply chain perspective, from a material supply perspective. So that becomes another strategic business unit. I'm just giving a hypothetical example. I'm not saying Zomato is classifying these as SBUs, but I'm just setting a perspective that how SBUs can be defined. Let's say in a service industry, let's say one strategic business unit could be automobile industry services, and other could be, let's say, healthcare services. So SBU for automobile services industry could be separate, and healthcare service industry could be separate. And now we'll have a project manager separately for one SBU, or let's say project leader, business leader for another SBU, and they will ensure that, yes, what is the kind of business coming, what is the profitability coming, whether the manpower resources are getting utilized or not. So normally it will have a separate P&L, you can say, in the organization, so that we can have more surety that, yes, each SBUs are growing, and there's more accountability and responsibility in place. So that normally that's the strategy, that's the vision that the leaders carry when they establish SBU, so they can have a more focused approach. Does that make sense, folks? Are you able to understand what are strategic business units?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. So a large firm has multiple businesses. Okay. So let's just read it out. A large firm has multiple businesses. Thus, the concept of SBU is useful for strategic planning by large firms. SBU is a business or a group for which separate planning is possible. It also has its own competitors and a manager who engages in strategic planning and is responsible for the major determination of profits. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. So now moving forward, implementation, folks. Implementation, strategic plans must be passed down to the organization structure through development of plans at each lower level. This process is most likely to succeed if the structure is compatible with strategic planning, personnel have the necessary abilities, organization culture is favorable or can be changed, and control exists to facilitate implementation. Right. So this is simple. Can I have a volunteer read this implementation as a paragraph? Can anyone read it? Can you please call out your name and participate?
Amit? Sir, can I, Amit?
Yeah, please go ahead, Amit.
Implementation. Strategic plan must be passed down the organization structure through development of the plans at each lower level. This process is most likely to succeed if the structure is compatible with strategic planning, personnel have the necessary abilities, organization culture is favorable or can be changed, and control exists to facilitate implementation.
Amit, you would like to share what you understood out of this?
So basically, whenever the board makes some strategy or the mission statement or the vision or the values, that has to be supported by the management in terms of implementation. For that, you have to make the structure compatible in terms of the people, training, skill, organization.
Right.
You have to make the culture compatible so that the planning can take place and desirable result can be delivered.
Right. So absolutely. Thanks, Amit. So folks, what we are saying here is it's talking about implementation now, like any other change management as a process. Strategic planning implementation is also very important.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Because I heard one saying the strategy is nothing. Because if the culture is bad, then culture takes the strategy in the breakfast.
Yeah, Amit.
Culture is most important.
Right. Thank you, Amit. So folks, I was saying on the implementation now. So as I said, as like any other change management exercise, strategic planning implementation is also equally important. So from an implementation point of view, it's always like a top to bottom approach. So wherein the strategic plan is shared from the top management, it drills down to the lowest levels. And the important is that the structure has to be compatible. Of course, it could easily roll out to the bottom. And then, of course, the people who are at an execution level, they should have abilities to execute. As Amit said, the culture is very important. If people are resistant to adopt that change or adopt that plan and implement that, it is very difficult to have the implementation. And similarly, control should exist to facilitate implementation. So regular monitoring and other process should be there, whether whatever strategic plans were built, those regularly have been implemented and monitored. So that's more from an implementation point of view. Now moving on to the controls.
Hi, Arpit, Dhriti this side. Sorry, coming back to SBUs. I just wanted to know, is there any difference between a different lateral coming up and a project? Can both be categorized as SBUs? Because there'll be a team set up for both of the things. So what is the
didn't get you. The first part you said is?
See, let's say there's a different lateral coming up, a company.
Different lateral as in,
yeah.
Okay.
So they're planning to expand and them creating a different maybe a body.
Yeah, I'll say project is very specific. I got your question, Riti. So project is very specific. So normally for a project, we'll not have a separate SBU. Under SBUs, you'll see multiple projects. So let's say education sector business company is into government business as well as into the B2C business, let's say, for example. Okay. So what is happening is government business could be just one SBU. Okay. So then there will be multiple projects in that government business. Okay. So what I'm trying to say that SBU is at a broader level, again, it doesn't drill down to project level. Projects comes under the SBU, you can say.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can I give one more example? Venkatesh?
Sure, Venkatesh.
Yeah, so when you look at the paints, so paints typically has different types. So you have decorative paints, you have industrial paints, then you have paints for special purposes, then you have automotive paints, and then you also have something which is in the space for the retail market. So each of these is seen as a business unit within the paint company, and each of them will have a separate plan, and the organization structure which will be there also will be fit for purpose. So you will have a structure wherein you will have the team and the people who are having that right kind of capability. If it's a B2B business or a B2C business, that kind of hire will be there. And the culture will also depend. So if it is very outward focused, where you're going to be painters and everything, then you will have build a culture wherein, you know, the people are more customer centric. And if it's a B2B kind of an environment, then they will hire in people. And the centricity will be more about people who have more maturity to interact with the customers, with the relationship building. And finally, when you look at controls, it will essentially talk about the type of controls which will exist depending on the type of business will change. So I just thought, you know, maybe.
No, that's a very good example, Venkatesh. Thank you so much to add. Great. I hope that is clear. Are we all clear with SBU now?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So now we move to controls. So this is again now important, folks. So strategic controls should be established to monitor progress, isolate problems, identify invalid assumptions, and take prompt corrective actions. So of course, there has to be strategic control so that we can monitor the progress, isolate the problems, identify invalid assumptions. Let's say it's taken during the planning phase, and take prompt corrective actions if anything is going wrong. As plans are executed at each organization level, control measurements are made to determine whether objectives have been achieved. Thus, objectives flow down the organization hierarchy and control measures flow up. So the objectives, the business objectives, the plans goes from top to bottom, and the controls normally measures flow up. So what are the controls at a ground level, and then how it is monitored towards the top. So that's on a broad understanding of the strategic controls, guys. Now what is important is to understand strategic control measures. Okay, so strategic control measures relates to external effectiveness as well as internal effectiveness. So you have to remember that strategic control measures, when we talk about strategic control measures, we are talking about external effectiveness as well as internal effectiveness. So external and internal. Now again, the strategic control measures are categorized at 3 levels, okay, in any organization normally. So how we see it as business unit level, at business operating system level, and finally at departmental or work center level. So first of all, can you all read it together? Strategic business control measures relates to what? External effectiveness and internal effectiveness. Can you say that together? Strategic control measures relate to
Internal effectiveness.
External effectiveness and internal effectiveness, right? So when I say external effectiveness, or internal effectiveness, normally these are at 3 levels. So what are the 3 levels? Can you all read it together? At the
Business unit level, at business operating system level,
and the departmental or work center level. Okay, perfect.
I have a question, sir. How?
Amit, let's hold on. Let's little bit speed up and we'll come back on it. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Let's take a hold. So at a business unit level now, folks, this is both for external as well as internal. So at a business unit level, so first of all, understand, guys, business unit, we have already understood strategic business unit. This will be largely on a top level. Okay, so business unit, it could be one BU as a company, or it could be one BU as a division also. Okay, so there's no definition of business unit. Okay, it could be only company, it could be single division, it could be one product, it could be different organization depending on the maturity size may categorize business unit level. Okay, so business unit level is normally preferred as a top level. Then we have business operating system level. Okay, so under business unit from a top level that where we are standing, and then second is business operating system level, which is the working style and how it is leading from external effectiveness point of view. And the third is department or work center level. Okay, mostly on the execution phase of it. So these are the 3 levels we are talking about. Now from external effectiveness point of view, we are measuring strategic control measures when we talk about business unit level. Since we are talking about external effectiveness, the performance measure that is here is mostly on the market share. Okay, whether the business unit that we are dealing with, how much market share do we have? So what is market share? How many different clients we address as compared to the total population size? So that is one external effectiveness measure that from a market share point of view at a BU level. Similarly, business operating system level now. So this is now from a working style perspective. So here we are talking about whether people are satisfied from external. Again, it is external effectiveness, guys. Okay. So here we are talking about customer satisfaction and flexibilities are measured. So what is flexibility? Whether we're able to give multiple services to the customer, whether we are able to satisfy the customer. This is more from operating system standpoint. And the third is department or work center level, which is mostly on the execution part of it, whether we are able to deliver quality products or services, whether we are able to deliver on time the products or services. So those are measured at department or work center level. So are we clear? Business unit level at a business unit level from an external effectiveness point of view, what is the performance measure would be normally on the
market share.
Market share. At a business operating system level, the performance measure would be mostly on the customer satisfaction and flexibility are measured. At a department or work center level, it is mostly the quality and deliveries are measured. Okay. So then we have second category of strategic control measures, which relates to internal efficiency. So above that, we were talking about external effectiveness. Now we are talking about internal effectiveness. So folks, at a BU level now, when we are talking about internal level, the first thing at a BU level would be the financial results normally that will be measured. So financial results at a BU level, financial results are measured. Again, now we are talking about internal efficiency. So at business operating system level, we are talking about flexibility, internal efficiency from a process point of view is measured. And finally, at a departmental or work center level, we again are measuring things like cycle time, how much is the waste being generated, how many delays are happening. All of those happens between each functions. Those are measured from an internal efficiency point of view. So this is something that you have to remember. Okay, when we are talking about strategic control measures, we are talking about two. These are measured at two levels. One is external, internal, and then under external, internal, we do it at BU level, business operating system level, or department or work center level. BU is among the top, so we are talking either about the market share or the financial results. Business operating system, we are talking about from external point of view, customer satisfaction, flexibility, business operating system point of view, internal efficiency. At a department or work center level, we are talking about the delivery quality to the customer, or internal, how much cycle time, operational efficiencies, and wastes are measured. Okay, so that's all the strategic control measures that these are few examples. How is it measured at? Okay, so yeah, so you can ask now your query. Yeah.
So basically, BU is a little confusing word, because when you are like working in a global environment, then Asia Pacific office is a BU. And
so this is what I was telling Amit exactly. So it will vary organization to organization. So let's not stretch on that.
I'm taking example of a single company operating in a single country. Then see, I'm talking about the Unilever India Limited. Then how can you define the BU operating system?
See, this will vary, Amit, as I said, organization to organization. So Unilever will have a different BU in place, and PepsiCo India will have a different BU in place. Okay, so that's why I'm saying it will vary organization to organization. These are just examples.
So in exam, we have to understand the context only.
Of course.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. So now, so we have understood what is SBU, what are strategic control measures, at what level these are measured. Okay. So now,
this is Soumya this side, and I have a doubt. What is the difference between business operating system and departmental or work center? I mean, what levels are they in an organization? With examples.
Okay, so let's talk about business operating system. This will be more at a operation head level. Okay, so from an overall operation efficiency point of view, okay, how a department would be very specific to each department. So let's take an example of any business for that matter. So normally, see, from example itself, it is clear. The overall level that could be measured from a customer satisfaction point of view will be mostly on a overall business operating, how the business is getting operated. Okay. But department work center will be very specific to each department. So let's say it could be stores team separately. It could be procurement team separately. So like the work center we have in any company, right? HR could be differently, different measures could be done at different levels. So department or work center is at a department level in each of those business operating systems. So the top is the business unit as a hierarchy. Then we have the business operating system, which will be normally the business heads overall. And then we come to the department level, which will be each department. Does that make sense?
Okay, fine. Thanks.
So if I have to give you an example of the paints again, in the automotive part of the business, so the overall paints for the company will be business unit performance level for the decorative piece. So within that, when you're looking at operation systems, it will essentially be supply chain, it will be distribution, it will be finance, it will be HR. And at the sub-departmental level, you will have the relevant functions within finance. You will have treasury, you will have accounts, you will have customer operations. So that's the way you can typically drill down at tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 when you're making the assessments external as well as internal. Does it make? I hope it makes sense to you.
Right. Thank you, Venkatesh. All right.
Arpit, is it right? I mean, finance will be at a business operating level, and treasury, taxation, and accounting under the finance will be at departmental and work center level. Is it the right understanding?
See, Soumya, I would put it this way that this will vary organization to organization.
Yeah.
So this really varies from organization to organization. There's no stretch structured for this matter. I mean, there's no set structure. The best, it could be the best industry practice. Okay. So what I would like to put it is you all need to understand it, that how does organization operate? Okay. From a structure point of view, let's say even a concept of BU is not available. Let's say they say that this is the company we do in this. So there's no definition of BU altogether in the company. That could be one scenario. Okay. But let's say if you go in a more matured and larger organization, there will be concept of BU coming in place, because they're large firms, large organizations, and they have to focus on each of those business units. Now, answering on your departmental or work center level, let's say if the organization is too big, what Venkatesh is saying, I go with that. Yes, under the business heads or business, if you have to monitor each of those department efficiency, it could be, yes, AP could be accounts payable team could be separately monitored as compared to the treasury team, because they have a different risk and controls also. Okay, so treasury has its own risk and controls, and accounts payable team has its own risk and controls. There are different KPIs, KRAs for both of the teams. So yes, if at that level we are talking about, it could be measured at that level as well. But this is depends on organization to organization. As I said, it could be one finance team handling one finance person handling end-to-end for everything. It could be very big organization having very specific functions in place. So the performance measures could be at any level, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, fine.
All right. So let's move forward, guys. I think this is at a very basic, and from a context setting point of view, really examiner is not going to ask you very specific on these things. I think broadly you have to understand, okay, when we're talking about BU, business unit, from external, we are talking about market share, we are talking about performance from a financial results point of view. And when we're talking about at one layer down, we are talking about overall satisfaction, overall efficiency in the process. And when we drill down further at a let's say tier 3 level, you're more monitoring, micro monitoring on the cycle time, operational efficiencies, and delays, delivery, wastages, like we do, right? So that's how we should see this as a process, or this as a control measurement. Okay. So don't worry, examiner is not going to ask you, okay, whether define this is a BU or this is a business operating system or this is a department. That should not be a relevant question in the exam. Okay. So are we clear so far? Can we move forward now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now, folks, there are three three goals basically. Okay, now there are three types of goals. So one is called strategic goals, the second is tactical goals, and the third is operational goals. Okay, so strategic goals comes from the senior management or the senior leadership. So they define the strategic goals for the company. Then the second is tactical goals, which normally the middle manager said that how do we achieve it. And finally, the third is operational goals, which is the lower level managers who decide, okay, now this is how we are going to achieve that. Okay, so those are the three types of goals. Senior managers broadly define strategic goals and plans for the entire organization. Middle managers develop tactical goals and plans needs to achieve strategic goals. Tactical plans are short-term and more detailed than strategic plans. And lower managers and supervisors develop operational goals and plans to achieve the strategic and tactical goals and plans. So operational plans are short-term, detailed, and measurable at a department or lower level. So normally that's how we see also there's a strategic goal, there's a tactical goal, which is set by middle manager, and finally the operational goal, how do we achieve it? So that's the three types of goals. Again, not too important from examination perspective. Just remember, okay, strategic goals defined by strategic senior managers, tactical by middle managers, and operational goals by lower managers. Now, organization planning, guys, one thing that you have to remember is, again, the same thing where I started, that what is the first phase of organization planning? And that will be drafting the mission statement. So please remember that organization planning has, again, now following phases. We have plan development, we have translation, we have operational planning and execution. And under operation planning and execution, we have MBOs and MBM that I was talking about. Crisis planning, stretch goals. So those are the key things that we talk about when we are talking about organizational planning. Okay, so basically if you see, we have 3-4 steps. So the first is under organizational planning. The first phase is the plan development, under which we are drafting the mission statement and setting the strategic goals and an overall plan. So under organization planning, please remember the first thing. The first step is drafting the mission statement, which is done by the board of directors. So plan development includes drafting a mission statement, setting strategic goals and an overall plan. Translation of the plan at the tactical levels include establishing objectives and plan, strategy mapping of the objectives and plans to strategic goals, contingency planning, building scenarios to anticipate what might occur rather than merely reacting to what has already occurred, appointing teams to engage the boundary spanning activities to connect the organization to its external environment. So basically appointing teams to engage what is happening internal to the external environment also. Business intelligence use such as tools as big data analytics to discover patterns, trends, and relationship. These tools rely on advanced software to search vast amount of internal and external information. Competitive intelligence activities are directed towards rivals. Guys, this is just a read. It's not really important from examination perspective, so don't worry. Moving on, operational planning and execution requires choosing performance targets that are specific, measurable, challenging, but reasonably attainable, time limited, and related to entity KPIs. Again, for each plans that is operationally planned, normally we'll have a performance measure which is specific, measurable, challenging, but reasonably attainable. It should not be unreasonable also, guys, because that discourages, that demotivate the team. And then it should be time limited, time constant, which can be measured and related to entity KPI. So that's on how to measure performance targets. Now, this is important, that what is MBOs and MBM. So management by objectives. Organization plan and execution also involve the following when attempting to meet performance targets. So one is management by objectives, the other is management by means. Okay, so nothing, see, again, it is not too tough or too difficult. It is simple that under management by objectives, you're telling that, okay, this is what we want to achieve. Under management by means, we are saying, how do we achieve that? So that's the only difference between management by objectives and management by means. Okay, so management by objectives is what? It's a systematic cooperative method by which employee and managers set goals at all levels, establish the action plans, review the progress, take corrective action, and evaluate the final performance. A modification of MBO is management by means. It addresses not only measurable goals, but also how they are achieved. The principle is that meeting expectations by inappropriate means is self-defeating. If we are meeting expectations by inappropriate means, then it is self-defeating. We are just trying to achieve it through inappropriate means. So that's why it's called as self-defeating. Okay. So just remember, when we are talking about management by objectives, you are setting the goals and targets. Okay, this is what we are trying to achieve. By management by means, we are saying, how do we achieve that? So that's the only difference. So then we have crisis planning, guys. So crisis planning, as we all understand, crisis planning is nothing in case of any disastrous event or any particular major event that has happened in the company. How do we prevent? How do we come back on the normal stage? So that's on the crisis planning. This is anticipates and prepare for disastrous events. Example, a major labor strike or natural disaster. Crisis prevention consists of steps to avoid or detect signs of a crisis. A key element is creating strong relationship with stakeholders, customers, suppliers, employees. Crisis prevention entails assembling a crisis management team, developing a crisis management plan, and establishing an emergency communication meter. Guys, this is something we also talk sometimes on the when we talk about DRPs and BCP. When we also normally we read it as part of IT risk management. When we talk about business continuity planning or disaster recovery planning, similar documents also cover crisis planning also. That how do we continue in case such events happen? Let's say some crisis happen from a major labor strike or any natural disaster, be it fire, be it an earthquake, or be any such natural disaster happen. How do we recover? So normally companies have BCP plan, business continuity plan, or a disaster recovery plan in place to know that, okay, how do we recover if such event happens? Okay, so that's again a broad understanding that you have to take. Again, this is not too important from examination perspective, guys. Moving on now, stretch goals. Stretch goals extend so far beyond the normal incremental range of goal setting that they can be attained only by paradigm shifting innovation. But such goals must not be unreasonable if employees are to be inspired, not discouraged. So of course, stretch goals, guys, now normally in any company that we see who are aggressive and who are aggressive as well as have high goals to achieve in a short time. So they, of course, have stretch goals that extend so far beyond the normal incremental range of goal setting that they can be attained only by paradigm shifting innovation. But such goals must not be unreasonable altogether if employees are to be inspired, not discouraged. So that's what I was talking about. Let's say if the stretch goal is very unreasonable and it's too much of pressure, then organization may face an issue of retention and people may get discouraged. And even leave the organization also for that matter, right? So stretch goals must be not be unreasonable if employees are to be inspired, not discouraged. So again, that was on a broad understanding. I think now there is now something which is important from examination perspective. We'll just cover that, which is mostly on the synergy and operation strategies. So are you all with me? Can I quickly hear the word yes from everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. So folks, this is now important. Please understand synergies. Again, this is very simple, very easy. Just we have to remember some of the key words. Okay, so synergy, basically, there are 4 types of synergies. Okay, we call it market synergy, cost synergy, technological synergy, management synergy. So market synergy is where we are talking about market share. So how do we increase the market share? What do we do to increase the market share, which or increase the sale and purchase of the products or services? Okay, so that's mostly on the market. How do we increase the market size, market share, products and services that complement each other to increase the market share? Let's say if we have variety of products in a one departmental store, so it is a market synergy because someone who's coming to the department store will not only pick one item, may pick other items as well. So that's a market synergy. Okay, that's mostly helps you to increase your market share. The second is on the cost synergy, which is focusing on the cost. How do we reduce cost? Let's say if the same activity can be done with less manpower. So how do we reduce the cost? How do we have a better operational efficiency measures in place? How do we have a cost reduction measures in place so that we can have cost synergy in place? So that's cost synergy is nothing. It's majorly focusing on the cost. Then we have technological synergy, guys. So technological synergy is where we are using the technology, bringing in the new technology, or transferring the technology from one plant to other plant, or one unit to another unit, from one system or one division to other division. So technological synergy or the technology, and the management synergy is basically, let's say the organization is lacking knowledge and bringing a new skill set to the team. Or let's say there is so normally wherever the organization is lacking from a knowledge skill set point of view, bringing up a new team, new skill set, that is mostly on the management synergy. So are we clear? Market synergy is more focused on anyone? Market synergy is more focused on increasing the
market share.
Sustaining the market share.
Yes. Cost synergy is
reducing the cost.
Cost effectiveness.
Cost. Technological synergy is
Transfer of
technology usage.
Transfer of technology, right? So, and then management synergy is mostly from a skill set point of view, from a knowledge transfer point of view. Okay, so that's on a management synergy. So this is again, guys, there could be some practical examples that would be tested out around here. Let's say if the examiner asks you that, okay, there is a mall, let's say there's a shopping mall, and where you have multiple options of buying your clothes, buying your accessories, buying your electronic items. So what is it? Is it a market strategy? Is it a cost strategy? Is it a technological strategy?
Market strategy.
So then it becomes a market strategy, right? So because so that is how you have to basically understand. Let's say if there is a new hire which has come into the company and that skill set was missing. So that is what a market strategy, cost strategy, technological strategy, or management strategy. Some basic understanding on concepts you have to remember when it comes to synergy. I hope all of you know what is synergy, guys. Synergy is nothing. Synergy is when everything comes together, multiple synergies come together, and then there's a better output as compared to individual performances. So that's on the synergy. So let's quickly read it. Are you all clear with the 4 types of synergy and what does synergy mean?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So strategic management seeks to obtain a competitive advantage that differentiates the organization and allows it to be successful in its environment. A competitive advantage has 4 aspects. Strategies should be developed that target specific customers whose needs can be met by the organization. The organization must be able to take advantage of core competencies, where we talk about strengths of the organization, the things it does better than its competitors. Strategic management is facilitated when managers think synergistically. Now, synergy exists when a combination of formally separate elements has a greater effect than some of their individual effects. Can I have volunteers then? Can you all participate and read it out? Synergy exists. Can I hear out your name, and can someone read what is synergy? And then we'll have another 4 volunteers talking about what is market, cost, technological, and management synergy. Reading out. Yes.
Can I?
Yeah, please call out your name. Please call out your name and go ahead.
Sir, Pranjal this side.
Yeah.
Synergy exists when a combination of formally separate elements has a greater effect than the sum of their individual effects.
Right. Thank you, Pranjal. I think that is self-explanatory. Right, guys? All right. So anyone volunteer? Volunteer, guys.
Yeah,
So this is Tanu here.
Tanu, go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, market synergy results when products or services have positive complementary effects. An example in the entertainment industry is a distributor's acquisition of content providers.
Right. So is it clear, Tanu? Are you clear? Market synergy. So basically, it's saying when market synergy results when products or services have positive complementary effects. An example is entertainment industry is a distributor acquisition of content providers. So if we'll have a more content providers, then what will happen is we can diverse and we can increase the market share. So that's from a market synergy point of view, where products or services have positive complementary effects. The example, a classic example I gave you was a departmental store where we have multiple items. So that gives a edge of having more market share and simplifying the customer needs, also meeting the customer needs. Can I have a volunteer in for cost synergy now?
Banu is reading for cost synergy. Cost synergy reduces cost. It occurs in many ways. For example, in the recycling of byproducts or in the design, production, marketing, and sales of a line of products by the same enterprise.
Right. So Banu, is that clear? Can you explain to the group what did you understood?
It's basically like, so we're reducing the cost by recycling the byproducts and using the same for production, marketing, and sale in line of the same products. Basically we are basically what you call using the same services for the products, for multiple products.
So basically the core focus that we are talking about is how do we reduce cost, right? So by using the recycled products or by putting other strategic measures to reduce the costing from a design perspective, from production perspective, marketing perspective, sale perspective, or any other perspective. So it's just an example, how do we reduce cost at what levels, right? So we can reduce cost from design perspective, from production perspective, we'll have a better efficiency. The whole point of having better efficiency is what? It will reduce the cost, right? So that is a cost synergy.
Sir,
Right.
I mean, sir, in case if I'm doing the backward integration and taking over my supplier, is it the example of cost synergy?
See, it depends. What is the objective of doing it? Is it
So
from
basically,
reducing the cost?
my input costs are increasing. So I decided to take over my
It will be a
supplier.
cost synergy where you have taken outlook that yes, if I acquire my suppliers, there will be reduced cost on which I can self-produce it, and then you can use it for your production process, which increases your margin. So it becomes a cost synergy. Let's say if you have acquired your distributors for a larger market share, and where you can have your own outlets in place, so that becomes a market synergy.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes.
Good point. So technological synergy, any volunteer for technological synergy, please? Folks, I want everyone to participate so that once you read it yourself, it will be much easier and you will be having more focus in the session as well.
Dhriti, reading for technological synergy.
Go ahead, Dhriti.
Technological synergy is the transfer of technology among applications. For example, technology developed for military purposes often has civilian use.
Okay, so what did we understood, Dhriti?
So something that has been put to use in some particular place can also be used for another thing.
Right. So let's say we already have a technology in place. We're using same technology in a different plant, different unit. And with the help of that, we are optimizing cost. We are basically bringing in new synergy from a technology point of view, so that ultimately the objectives can be achieved, right? So that's from a technological synergy point of view. Can I have last volunteer for management synergy, please, quickly?
Yeah, may I?
Yeah, please go ahead. Call it your name.
I'm Govardhan Rao.
Govardhan,
Management synergy also involves knowledge transfer. For example, a firm may hire a manager with skills that it lacks. I can give an example. A firm engages a risk manager to know what is the risk it is facing in the market.
Right. So that could be example. Let's say the firm is lacking the skill set of risk management. So the organization hires a risk manager, becomes from a management strategy synergy point of view. All right, guys. So I think we are clear with synergy. What is synergy and what are the 4 types of synergy, and understood with some of those examples. So let's move forward. Then the 4th point is providing value to the customer is crucial to an effective strategy. So again, so the key part was synergy here. Now we move to the next one, which is on operational strategies, guys. Okay, so operational strategies, again, there are 4 types of operational strategies. There are 5 operational strategies, which includes cost, quality, delivery, flexibility, service. So cost, again, guys, cost as a strategy is focusing on how to reduce cost. Okay, so how we can have a least cost product. The second is on the quality, which is more how to have a better quality products or services being supplied to the customer. Delivery strategy is mostly from an operation point of view, how do we deliver quickly and within a earliest time frame. So that's on the delivery strategy. Then we have flexibility strategy. Now flexibility strategy is where basically we are able to supply multiple products and give more and more offerings to the customers. Okay, so that's from a flexibility strategy point of view. And finally, service strategy. Service strategy is mostly where we are able to give, let's say, after sales services, especially in the consumer electronics segment, or let's say in any other let's say automobile segment also, where we have a service strategy, after sales services in place. So those are the 5 operation strategy. Are we clear? What are the 5 operation strategy? Can you all call out together first of all? What are the 5 operation strategy?
Cost strategy,
Cost
strategy,
quality strategy,
Quality,
delivery
flexibility, and
service
service.
strategy.
Okay, so broadly, are you clear what is cost? Cost is focusing again on the cost. Quality is where we are focusing on the quality. Delivery is where we're talking about delivering at a fastest pace. And this also helps in to charge premium also, right, guys? So if we can consistently supply at the fastest pace as compared to the competitors, we can always charge for premium price for that, right? So organization have those operation strategies in place. Similarly, flexibility strategy. Anyone? Flexibility strategy helps us in providing.
So basically, offering different product at the same
offering
time.
Multiple products or services, right?
Speed to market.
Yeah. So then we have service strategy. As I said, service strategy, the classic example was, anyone? New members, guys, whoever is not participating, Shrikant, Abhinav. Are you all with me, guys?
So all the aggregators that we have, Swiggy, Zomatos of the world, they will all be service strategy will be their core, right?
No. So basically, what we provide after the sale, as a
I would say maybe Swiggy and Zomato will follow a delivery strategy, or let's say sometimes even Domino's provides a delivery strategy. How do we supply the or supply the Domino's pizza in 30 minutes time? So they were following a delivery strategy. Probably service strategy is normally after sale service.
After sale services.
After sale service could be a more better example. I think Swiggy, Zomato will more focus on the turnaround time, how quickly they can deliver the order. So they will probably follow a delivery strategy. Or let's say even Milk Basket or other companies, I think they're mostly focused on the delivery strategy, on timely delivery or before time delivery every morning. So rather than just service, I think their selling point would be more delivery point of view rather than just a service, right?
Hello, sir.
So Pranjal, this side.
Please go ahead, Pranjal.
Sir, actually, I have one query. What's the difference between cost strategy and cost synergy?
Those are the two different things. Earlier we were talking about synergy. How do we bring synergy in place? So when we were talking about synergy, there's actually cost synergy. The purpose was how to reduce cost. So how do we bring and utilize things in such a way that it reduces cost? Cost strategy, when we are talking here, we are talking about operation strategies. Here we are talking, earlier we were talking about synergy. Here we are talking about strategy. Okay. So earlier in synergy, we were trying to bring synergy to reduce cost. Okay. Here in strategy, we are talking about that as an operation of a strategy is how to reduce cost so that we can give a lower price product and then probably increase the market share. So what I'm trying to say, that was synergy to bring things together to reduce the cost. Here we are talking about you're following a cost strategy to keep the cost reduced, to buy from such vendors which can give a more competitive price so that we can have a reduced cost in place, and accordingly we charge less to the customer and accordingly increase the market share. So here we are talking about strategy. Earlier we were talking about synergy.
Can we say in synergy, it is that we talk about reducing the production cost of a product, and in strategy, we are talking of pricing of a product based on the various markets available?
So I will not differentiate it that way. It's a different thing that we have been talking about. Synergy is where we are assembling things in a way to reduce things. Here we are talking about 5 operational strategies. These are 2 independent topics, let me tell you. Synergy is a different thing. It has a different meaning to it. Strategy is a different thing and a different meaning to it. Strategy is talking about which strategy we want to follow, right? So as an organization, I want to follow cost strategy, which means I will anyhow produce at a cheapest rate IX product or service, and accordingly I will bill it to the customer at most competitive price. So that's my strategy of operations. Now in the organization, to achieve that strategy, cost strategy, I am putting synergies in place. Okay, I am probably using same manpower for multiple activities. I am let's say recycling the products so that my cost reduces. So synergy is how do we achieve those strategies also. So I will differentiate synergy from strategy as a independent understanding. So synergy is different and strategy is different. Does that help you, Pranjal, to understand?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Arpit, Shine here.
Shine, please go ahead.
Yeah. For this service strategy, does it applies to banking industry? Because in banks, various banks provides various enhanced services to gain the competitiveness in the market.
Yes. I think from a banking industry point of view, service could be good point, because it's not only just buying a product, but let's say transparency in reporting is very, very important from a banking industry point of view. Regular reporting, giving transparency in system. So much of after sales service is also there. let's say reward points, and so many things happens which attract the customer. So mostly from a service industry, it could be a good option. Like so many payment gateways, service that you can do this, do that through the use of credit card. I think that will become more from a service strategy point of view. Yes.
Amit,
Sir,
it
I
means
want
the one uses synergy to achieve or implement the strategy. Is it the right way?
Sorry, repeat that.
I'm saying the one uses synergy as a tactical way to achieve the strategy. So strategy is a hard term.
You can say that I gave the example on the same context. The strategy is what the organization is choosing, that this strategy I want to follow. Okay. And this is something that we'll understand as we move forward also from a competitive strategy point of view. There's a strategy which is cost leadership. The other would be a differentiation strategy. Okay. So as a business, what we are saying is I want to focus on cost. Okay. So as a reason, let's say let's say there is a ABC company. Okay, they are saying that I want to be on a cost specific, so I will give you the least cheapest product at a good quality product at a cheapest rate. So that is cost strategy. The others is differentiation strategy. Okay, let's say I will give you a luxury product which is differentiated, which is rarely available. So there what I'm going to give you is a differentiated product so that is my strategy of selling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it, sir.
So Walmart will be a cost strategy, right, where it tries to provide wide ranges, cheapest, the lowest cost. So, and the synergies will be the way they have their whole supply chains in terms of sourcing and getting the people. Absolutely. The cost base will all be so low to stay competitive. So that's where the synergies are. But essentially, if the cost strategy is to be as competitive and provide the cheapest product.
Right. Absolutely.
Arpit, could you possibly help me with an example for flexibility strategy?
Yeah, flexibility strategy, Jacqueline, is basically where we are offering different products or services. So we are flexible. So we're giving multiple options to the customer. So let's say for example, I give you in a service industry, we normally call it a term called we are flexible to our customers, right? We say that, right? So what are we saying? Okay, let's say if the organization is in US. So we are serving on the US timelines, and then let's say if there is an organization in the Australia, we are serving in Australia timelines, and similarly in a different market segment. So what we are saying, they're saying we are following a flexible strategy. People can come in and out and work based on the clients they are working on, and they're flexible to work based on the requirements of the client. So that's a flexible strategy from a time availability point of view. Another could be, let's say, flexibility from a product or service providing from a different pricing point of view. Let's say we have a product of 5 rupees to even 5,000 rupees. Okay, so you can pick. You're giving a flexibility to the customer with the different products and different price range. So that is a flexibility strategy. Does that make sense? Does that help you to understand?
So that means a BPO will be coming under a flexibility strategy, providing financial services or voice-based services, something like that.
Again, as I said, see, what is the purpose again? So BPO, a lot of time the purpose is even having a outsourcing team who can be more cost effective also. Okay. So BPO model, a lot of times organization want to follow from a cost effectiveness point of view. So if they are doing it for that purpose, it could be cost strategy. If it is providing different services, it could be it could be flexibility strategy also.
Okay.
Someone is also asking.
So Arpit, yeah, Ankita here.
Yeah, go ahead, Ankita.
So what I understand is that a particular business can follow different strategies at the same time. So for example, if it's a manufacturing company, it can, it will also focus on delivery strategy for on-time deliveries. It will also focus on cost strategy to, for
reduce the cost.
Reduction of cost.
Yes.
So it's a combination of all strategies that can be used. It cannot be that one industry has to use one strategy.
Absolutely. And in fact, this is operation strategy. So of course, if you see, we are talking about operation strategy being implemented in different operations of the company, right? Yeah. So from a manufacturing point of view, it will be more cost centric. For a quality department, it will be more from a quality perspective. For logistics and supply chain, it will be more from a delivery perspective, right? So one is at that level, and then if you want to think from a industry level point of view, you can think on the same lines that how do we see that, right? So, but what you're saying is correct. From operations strategy point of view, different functions, different departments will have their own such strategy in place, and normally organization focus on all of it together also. That we should be cost centric, we should deliver best quality to the product, we should deliver best delivery at the right time, and we should be flexible, should be able to have a more catalog of products or services, and we should be also able to provide after sales service, right? So yes.
Right. Thank you.
Any other doubts, folks? I can see some message on the chat box. Tanu, I'm not clear what is AND mutual funds or NBFC. Shield delivery, I'm not clear.
What sort of question basically are asked from this strategy related thing in the examination in general?
Sorry, who's that? Can you please call out your name?
Hi, this is Soumya. So what sort of questions are generally asked in the paper?
Soumya, don't worry. Once we wrap up this session, we'll practice MCQs after completing the unit. So normally in the examination, examiner can ask, to answer you at this point of time, examiner can ask, okay, which strategy the organization is following. Let's say if they're giving a practical example from a quality standpoint of view, and they're giving you option of whether it's a cost, quality, delivery, flexibility, then you have to choose the right option, whether it was a quality strategy, or whether it was a delivery strategy, or it was a flexibility strategy. So basically, examiner will test you on your conceptual understanding of, okay, do you understand what is cost strategy, what is flexibility strategy? Okay. So let's say for example, I gave you my previous example on the synergy side also. Let's say the examiner says that there is a shopping mall which gives a lot of products and services options to buy. So what is the kind of synergy we are talking about? Whether we are talking about market, we are talking about cost, we are talking about technology, we are talking about management synergy. So examiner can test you on those grounds. So we have to have a broad understanding. Okay, when we talk about market synergy, some actions that we are doing so as we can increase the market share. Similarly, from a strategy point of view, some actions that we are doing more from a cost centric point of view. So that's how I will say.
Okay, thanks.
So Tanu here.
Tanu,
so as Ankita said, I was having the doubt that like mutual funds are there, or NBFCs are there, online shopping apps are there, they will follow multiple operation strategies.
Yeah,
like
so I think
she said that.
Yeah,
I'm clear on that part. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Great, guys. So let's move forward now. So operation strategies, can I have volunteers in now? Can someone read it out? What is cost strategy? Volunteers, Jacqueline, Soumya, anyone?
Yeah, I'll read it out, sir. This is Diana.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Cost strategy is successful when the enterprise is the low-cost producer. However, the product, example, a commodity, tends to be undifferentiated in these cases. A product is undifferentiated when competitors sell essentially the same thing, such as the same kind of grain. The market is often very large. The competition tends to be intense because of the possibility of high volume sales.
Okay. Diana, you understood?
Yes, sir. So basically, they want to be the low-cost producer in the market.
Okay. Okay, tell me, folks.
Among the competitors, they want to be the low-cost producer.
Yeah, got it. Thanks, Diana. So, folks, tell me, do you think that in case I want to supply a differentiated product, I can be a low-cost seller?
No, sir.
No, right? So normally,
not necessary.
Not necessary. So normally, if I have to produce a differentiated product, it will require customization. It will require extra efforts, right? So most likely that will attract more cost, right? Something like that is less scalable, which means which is less scalable. Normally will have so normally when we call there's a concept of economies of scale, right? So what do we say if we have economies of scale? So what we do is we have most cost effectiveness, and we can manage through more market share there, right? So normally cost strategy is for the purpose to increase the market share by having a low cost strategy or a low pricing strategy. Of course, the low cost help you to low price, and low price help you to get a more market share. So that's exactly what it is saying here. If you see the product example, commodity tends to be undifferentiated in these cases. Okay, so normally in a cost strategy, the products are not differentiated. It's not a differentiated product or unique product, because to create a differentiated product or unique product, there will be extra cost, extra resources, which will come in the differentiation strategy when we will understand it. It's
like, for example, tea, maybe like a tea brand or something, which is so many different brands are there.
Yeah, so under tea also, you can still have a differentiation in place, right? So let's say there could be a green tea with a flavor which may have a differentiation category, and it could be then a little more expensive as compared to something which is normally of the same size and same shape. So let's take an example like any commodity. Let's say if you're talking about mustard seeds, okay? So normally mustard seeds, or let's say we are talking about sugar. So sugar normally will be the same kind, only the quality varies, okay? And it can be a large scale product. So hardly few categories of those or few varieties of that sugar is supplied. So either you buy a A grade quality of sugar, or let's say a A minus, or let's say a A plus category. So what I'm saying is it can be done on a large scale, and there are very limited grades for it. So then you can follow cost strategy. But let's say if you want to be into a lifestyle business, most likely you will follow a differentiation strategy rather than cost strategy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. So guys, this is
How
important.
about gold jewelers? Will they follow cost strategy, as the gold
Normally,
price is same everywhere, but their making charges are different? So will
Based
they
on
follow
the
cost strategy?
based
they
on the
will normally,
product, like
so they will,
bangles or necklace or a
Yeah,
more
yeah,
exquisitive
yeah.
piece, that making charges differ based on that generally.
Yes, 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 yes.
so
So I
normally
want
that
to know
you can say
what.
it is more of a differentiation strategy, because you're differentiating your products designs from as compared to any other jewelry shop in the market, right? So then it's not a cost centric, it's more on the differentiation strategy normally.
Okay.
But let's
Okay.
say if I want to open a jewelry shop in any part of the market, and let's say my designs are equally good, and I want to attract more customers to me, I may get into the cost strategy that I reduce my other cost, and let's say reduce the marketing cost, let's say reduce any other cost, and then maybe sell it to the customer at little lesser prices. So again, see, it is not from a customer point of view, it's more from an organization point of view, what they want to follow. They want to say that yes, no, my products are differentiated from others, so that's why I'm following. So see, folks, this is how you represent your organization. This was actually not part of operation strategy. This is more of a competitive strategies that we are talking about. We would have discussed more in detail when we would have moved forward. But what I'm saying is, at this point of time, since we have touched on that, it is how you want to show yourself in the market also. You want to represent your organization. No, we are a organization which give differentiated and unique products. So then based on that, I accordingly charge also price high. So that becomes a differentiation strategy as compared to any other industry or manufacturing unit normally centric from a cost strategy point of view, right? So that is how I'll see it. Let's say Maruti Suzuki will be more cost centric, that okay, I can give you a lesser price car of a good quality, through which they increase the market share, right? So that becomes more of a cost strategy point of view. From an operation strategy point of view, they are very much into the service strategy as well. So after sales service. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's move forward now. Let's quickly move forward. Operation strategy, guys. An operation strategy is reflected in a long-term plan for using resources to reach strategic objectives. The following are 5 operation strategies. Number 1 is cost strategy. Cost strategy is successful when the enterprise is a low-cost producer. However, the product, example, a commodity, tends to be undifferentiated in these cases. A product is undifferentiated when competitors sell essentially the same thing, such as the same kind of grain. Okay, the market is often very large. The competition tends to be intense because the possibility of high volume sales. So there are many customers. There is a huge market for it. So normally that's the reason we get into the cost strategy point of view, so that we can, as much as the cost get reduced, as much as the price get reduced, you can have a more market share in place. So that's the reason cost strategy is normally used. Quality strategy involves competition based on product quality or process quality. Product quality relates to design. For example, the difference between a luxury car and a subcompact car. Process quality is the degree of freedom from defects. Okay, so we are talking about product quality and process quality. So process quality, we are talking about the entire process free from defects. Then we are talking about delivery strategy, guys. Delivery strategy may permit an enterprise to change a higher price. Delivery strategy may permit an enterprise to charge a higher price when the product is consistently delivered rapidly and on time. So that is what I discussed. If we are delivering promptly on a consistent basis, we can maybe we can charge premium to it. So delivery strategy may permit an enterprise to charge a higher price when the product is consistently delivered rapidly and on time. An example firm is UPS. UPS is what? UPS is a courier company, let's say, who can probably make the necessary courier much before the time as compared to other competitors. And that's the reason they charge premium for it. So they follow a delivery strategy. And we have
Domino's Pizza. I mean,
yeah, we took that example as well, right?
Yeah.
So a flexibility strategy involves offering many different products or an ability to shift rapidly from one product line to another. An example firm is a publisher that can write, edit, print, distribute a book within days to exploit the public's short-term interest in a sensational event. Service strategy seeks to gain a competitive advantage and maximize customer value by providing services, especially post-purchase services, such as warranties on automobiles and home appliances. Are we clear on the strategies and synergies, guys? Can we move forward?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So another topic is SWOT analysis, guys. I am sure you all would have known what is SWOT. It's nothing: strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. We should work on. We should make our strengths more competitive, more efficient, so that we are more efficient than the competitors. We should work on the weaknesses that we are lacking. Opportunities and threats. So strength and weakness is normally from an internal environment perspective, because whatever our strengths, we can work on it. Whatever our weakness from organization point of view, we can work on it. Opportunities and threats are more from an external environment point of view. Opportunities that look from more from a micro environment point of view. That okay, this is what the competitors are doing. We can also do it. These are the, let's say, blue ocean strategy, which is unexplored. That becomes a huge opportunity to work on. And of course, the threats is again the competition, the technology, the regulations. It's more from external environment point of view. What the competitors are doing, they've bought on suddenly a new product and service line, and we don't have adequate funds in place. So that could be a huge threat for the existing organization and the two competitors. It could be a radical technological change. That could be a huge threat from external environment point of view. So those are SWOT analysis, guys. I'll just quickly read it out. This is again simple and what we normally understand. So SWOT analysis facilitates development of an overall strategy as a basis for planning to achieve the organization mission. This process considers organization strength, weaknesses, a capability profile, and their interactions with environmental opportunities and threats. Strength and weaknesses from an internal environment perspective usually are identified by considering the firm capabilities and resources. What the firm does particularly well or has in greater abundance are its core competencies. Core competencies are the source of competitive advantage that in turn are the basis for an overall strategy. Okay, so let's say from a strength point of view, if I am into a service providing industry, I have the adequate team size, I have the skill set, I have the geographical presence, all of that in place. So that is my strength. I use technology, so that is a strength to the company. Okay, so let's say vice versa. I don't have the adequate times. I don't have adequate team size. I am not geographically present. I don't have the technology in my team. All of it becomes the weakness for me. Does that make sense? Strength and weakness. Is it clear, guys? This is internal.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Only one yes. Are you all with me? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Am I loud and clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So then we are talking about opportunities and threats. Opportunities and threats, the external environment are identified by considering macro environment, micro environment factors such as economic, demographic, political, legal, social, cultural, and technical factors. Micro environment factors such as supplier, customer, distributor, competitors, and other competitive factors in the industry. Okay, so we are talking about threats from a political standpoint of view, from a legal point of view, from a cultural point of view also. Okay, so let's say we want to enter into a new market or a new geography where the key problem could be a social culture issue, and we will not be able to probably fit into that market. So that could be a one huge threat. And similarly from an opportunity point of view also, you can say that it's a new market and a new culture and a new product which is required, which can be supplied by the organization. So that becomes an opportunity. Right. So for example, now speed in reacting to environmental changes or introducing new products is an important competitive advantage. To achieve it, the organization may have to re-engineer its process. Okay, so re-engineer is nothing. It's like re-engineering, restarting or rethinking from a different outlook, the entire process. Okay, so that's on the SWOT. Now, very, very important is the competitive strategies, guys. So before getting into it, are you all with me? We'll just cover competitive strategies and then we'll take a quick 15 minutes break and then we come back and do the remaining part. So are you all with me? Can I quickly hear the word yes from everyone?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So guys, competitive strategy. Competitive strategy basically, so basically when we talk about competitive strategy, we are talking about having advantage and we are talking about basically having advantage and the scope. So competitive scope and competitive advantage that I was talking about. So competitive scope is broad or narrow. What is broad now? Broad is industry wide. It's a larger scope. So we are talking about the overall level. And narrow is, of course, very specific to a market segment, very specific to a location, very specific to a culture, region, whatever you want to say. So one is the scope of competitiveness that we're talking about. One is broad and narrow. The other is advantage, competitive advantage, where we are talking about whether we want to be a low cost or unique. And this is something now it can be quickly covered because we have already brainstormed it when we were reading operational strategies. So basically Michael E. Porter generic strategies model treats each competitive advantage as either a cost advantage or a differentiation advantage. So either it has to be a low cost or either it is to be a unique product. Okay, so are you clear that when we're talking about scope, there are two scopes. What are the two scopes? What are the two scopes?
Broad and
narrow. And when we're talking about advantage, there are two advantages. What are those two competitive advantages that any organization can have? Either it could be
cost and differentiation.
Differentiation or a unique product, right? So now let's say, guys, when we're talking about broad level, okay, when we're talking about an industry level, okay, so normally when we do that, under competitive advantage, low cost and a broad level, we talk that we are following a cost leadership strategy. Okay, so are you clear? When we say competitive scope is broad, which is industry wide, and the competitive advantage is low cost. What is the strategy we are saying? It is the strategy is cost leadership. Cost leadership. Okay. So when we are talking about competitive advantage is unique product, and again from a broad point of view, it is what? It is differentiation strategy. Is that clear? Cost leadership, differentiation. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now similarly, this was from an industry level, from an overall level perspective. Let's say I'm talking about entire India, or I'm talking about entire. It could be, let's say, from a globalization perspective. Also, it could be entire industry perspective. So I'm talking about a broad thing. Here we are talking about very, very specific to market segment. You can also take an example from what Venkat has given. So paint industry, we are talking about the entire paint industry. And then we are talking about narrow market segment where we are talking about any one specific segment in place. So again, if we are talking about narrow, which is at a market segment level. So again, if we have a competitive advantage at a low cost. So again, here we are saying focus strategy, focus cost strategy. Okay. And again, focus differentiation strategy. So there is a very minor difference, guys. Underlying understanding is same. When there is a broad scope, we say cost leadership strategy or differentiation strategy. When there is a narrow scope, then we say it is a focused cost strategy or a focused differentiation strategy. Does that make sense? In broad, what is the terminology we use? And in narrow, what is the terminology we use? Is that clear? So can anyone tell in broad, what is the terminology we use for cost strategy? It's a
cost leadership strategy.
And when we say from a broad scope point of view, what is the for unique product? What is the strategy the terminology is used?
Differentiation strategy.
Okay, from a narrow point of view, what is the terminology we use? It is called focused
cost strategy.
And then focus differentiation. See, guys, this is very simple. This is very simple the way we have understood. Focused is very focused to a narrow segment or to a market segment, to a particular location. That's why it is called focus strategy, focus cost strategy, or focus differentiation. We want to create a difference in this particular market, this particular location by providing, let's say, regional products. So then it becomes a focus differentiation in that particular area. So that's why it is called focus differentiation strategy. Okay, is that clear? Can we move forward?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now let's cover this. So I think we have largely understood, guys, this is on the same lines when we're talking about cost leadership. So cost leadership strategy, when we are talking about how can we be at the lower cost, right? So if we'll have the lower cost, we can have a better margins, we can give a better price, we can increase the market share. Again, the same thing happens for cost leadership. We cannot have a differentiated product. We should have a same product at a larger scale where we can enjoy the benefit of having economies of scale in place. All of that's the same thing that we have discussed will come in place. From a differentiation strategy, again, the core, sorry, there is some disturbance. Can I request you to be on mute? Yeah, so when I was talking about, again, differentiation strategy, it's boiling up to the same point that we are focusing on how do we differentiate our products. In differentiation strategy, guys, what do you think? If I'm increasing the price, if my suppliers are increasing the price, can I pass on those increase in price to my buyers?
Yes, sir.
Normally, yes, right? So under the cost leadership, even if my supply is increasing the price, maybe since the competition is such that the whole idea is I have to be the least price vendor to increase the market share. So there probably I'll not be able to increase the price of the product, and which will ultimately impact my margin, right? So cost leadership is where the cost is focused. Differentiation is where the unique product or service is the focus. Okay. So let's have volunteers in who can read and who can share the thoughts so that everyone understand and we keep the session more participative. Can I have someone any new volunteers who have not spoken yet? Guys, please take the session more participative so that you understand better.
Yeah,
Arpit, this is go ahead, Jan.
Yeah, so cost leadership seeks competitive advantage through lower costs. It has a broad scope, such a firm can earn higher profit than its competitors at the industry average price or charge a lower price to increase market share. For example, a cost advantage may result from vertical integration, acquisition of suppliers, wholesalers, or retailers, exclusive access to low-cost materials, economies of scale, decline of average cost of output as output increases, outsourcing.
Right. Let's take a pause here. So great. Can you please explain to the members or all the students what we understood? Are we all clear?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Take our time.
Cost leadership, see, means one example is coming into my mind. I don't know whether it is right or wrong. So in automobile industry, when Tata launches their nano car, so they have probably captured the market shares probably for the low cost in the small segment unit car. So yes, they have turned the market. For example, Reliance Jio, when they launched, they have reduced the cost and provided better service to capture the market. So that can be a better, I don't know whether it is right or wrong.
No, that is absolutely a very good example, Chan. So you're saying that, okay, we are talking about those organization industries basically who have reduced the cost to that level so that they can increase the market share, right? So so I think, yes, Reliance Jio would be one classic example who at a least cost or least pricing would have increased so much of market share in a very small time. So that is one classic example. Yes.
Because I think in Reliance Jio, they spent, I mean, when it was launched, there were a lot of analysis in the paper and everywhere. So it was mentioned that they were acquiring the data, that fiber optical firms for quite some time, and they acquired a lot of firms, and because of which they could price it so next to nil in the initial period of time. So, so that they can still make profit. I mean, because they acquired all the firms, most of the firms, so which allowed it to happen.
Yeah. So ultimately, the organization had that strategy that, okay, we are coming into this segment, and if we are coming into this segment, we have to disrupt the market by having the cost leadership in place. I think that was the strategy. So that's why that has given them edge to increase the market share. So I think we are clear for any other organization for that matter. These are something that, yeah, for
DMart.
Yeah, so those could be organization name. I'm not calling out that at this point of time. I'm just taking those examples. Let's say for any organization, I think we are all clear by having a vertical integration in place, by acquiring the suppliers, wholesalers or retailers, so that we can have a more optimized cost product without extra margins of suppliers, wholesalers or retailers. We are decreasing the cost by having exclusive access to the low cost materials. Let's say we have already explored those competitive vendors we can supply who can supply the least cost as compared to the other similar business houses. So of course that will help give us an edge of being at a lower cost, or maybe we have had a better negotiation terms. So exclusive access to the low cost materials, economies of scale, as I said, again, if we are increasing the market share, if we are increasing the overall output, then of course average cost per output decreases, so we enjoy the benefit of economies of scale. And then finally outsourcing to the co-packers, or so this is guys again important. Sometimes you will see in manufacturing units or organizations, what they do is they completely outsource the manufacturing of a product to either to a co-packer, or let's say to any other organization also who deals into B2B manufacturing business. So they're just outsourcing it, the complete manufacturing function, and they get it branding done. So because they have a better infrastructure, they're already doing for multiple organizations. So just by outsourcing, they are achieving lower cost in manufacturing also. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
that's on the cost lead. So a cost advantage may result from all of this, guys. So can I have another volunteer who can read out the next two part of the cost leadership strategy? Jacqueline, you want to go ahead?
Sure, Beth. A cost leader usually has low profit margins, high sales, and large market share. Such a firm has efficient supply and distribution channels, is capable of large capital investment, has strengths in product design and process engineering if it is a manufacturer, closely supervises its labor force, is highly structured. The risks include advances in technology or imitation by competitors, adoption by many firms of a narrow cost focus strategy in their market segments, and a failure to consider products and marketing changes. For example, the cost advantage must outweigh the differentiating advantages of the others.
Right. So I think, guys, this is clear. Just to these are again important points when we are talking about cost leadership. And now this is important to understand, because examiner can test you on those lines. Let's say if the organization is if the product type is high volume, high volume, no high volume with the hardly any differentiation in the product type. So can we do a cost leadership, or can we do a differentiation strategy? So normally those point of thought, you have to remember that only cost leadership can be applied, because there is no differentiation in the product. So normally in cost leadership, of course, there is low profit margin on each product, but since there is huge market share or huge volume in place, so that's where the overall profitability comes in place. Okay, so a cost leader usually has low profit margins, high sales, and a large market share. Such a firm has efficient supply and distribution channels. The supply chain management process is capable of a large capital investment, because the volume is high, the market share is high, so there's a huge capital investment required. Has strengths in product design and product engineering if it is a manufacturer. Closely supervises its labor force. Now, this is also very good example, guys. Let's say examiner asks you that in which particular leadership strategy the close supervision is required on the labor force. Is it the cost leadership? Is it the differentiation strategy? So normally close supervision in its labor force is required in the cost leadership strategy, because in differentiation we have to be more creative, and micromanagement is not there. Normally in cost leadership, since the scale is high, since the maturity is high, the volumes high, it's more of a structured process, and it is closely supervised. The labor force is also closely supervised, so that there is better efficiency, and since it is cost centric, then there should be no excessive wastages and things like that. Is it clear?
So can we say that an Amazon online portal or platform would be qualifying as cost leader, because it generally qualifies for most of the criteria. Would it be right to say that?
Yeah, so see, from a Amazon point of view, it is a different, I will say, service provider. It is providing a platform and it's an aggregator for a different reason. I mean, from a cost point of view, how I see it is more for a market strategy point of view, that they can have a more market share by having so many vendors. I think I will not say it is too good example for cost leadership per se. Cost leadership, I think this could be a better example, will be more from a manufacturing units point of view, where you can see that.
If I can give an example for cost leader, ITC, cigarettes.
Yeah, ITC could be one, Philips could be one. All those manufacturing units were well established. I think those are more from a cost leadership point of view.
Even Walmart and Big Bazaar can be, right?
Yeah. Walmart and Big Bazaar could be, yes.
But if Walmart and Big Bazaar are also into it's not into manufacturing, right? It is kind of a retailer or a wholesaler. No manufacturing is involved there per se, right?
They have their own labels and brands which they replace with the branded ones. So to achieve competitive advantage, that is how, even when you look at the Geo and all the other ones, they go into that space because of the large warehousing space, logistics, and also the labels which they in-house labels which they make to commoditize the established brands. So that is how they establish cost leadership.
See, normally the cost leadership is normally for the purpose to have a least pricing products, right? So let's say, for example, Lenskart. Lenskart could be one example, that they are able to give you a spectacle at a least cost comparatively as compared to the similar segment market. They are able to give you a better pricing product. So they want to be, let's say, cost leadership, and they were trying to increase the market share. Similarly, let's say Maruti Suzuki, for that matter, I think they mostly play on the cost leadership, because what they're trying to say, they're saying that, okay, my vehicle is a passenger, in the passenger segment vehicle is probably at a very right set of price, as well as after sales cost, as in the running cost of the vehicle is also very low. So they're mostly selling it from a cost leadership standpoint of view. Similarly, I think all those bigger manufacturing units and companies is most from a cost leadership point of view. See, Amazon is, I don't know how do we classify as a cost leader, because ultimately it is not focusing on cost leader. They are into a revenue sharing model. They give a platform to so many suppliers, and it's an individual choice to go and buy any kind of a product, right? So,
but Lenskart also offers Crizal and other lenses. It is not into production per se, right? I mean, it is a platform to offer
production process. If you're not aware of it, they have their own manufacturing units on things.
Yeah, sir. They have their factory in Okhla.
Yeah.
Arpit, can McDonald's and Burger King can be categorized as cost leader?
See, I will say, see, let's say it is a different industry. It's a QSR business, it's a quick selling restaurant business. People doesn't go to McDonald's for a low price burger, right? So it's a different, I think we're relating to a different aspect of it.
I have a question, Amit.
Please go ahead.
Sir, the way we are discussing, I don't see that a company can completely be a cost leader, because as a established here, I can be a cost leader.
Amit, really bad voice from your side. Can't understand anything.
Is it right now?
Yeah.
Sir, I'm saying a company who is well established, they have some existing portfolio, and they also do the NPD. So a company can be a cost leader only for 90% of its existing portfolio. But sometime in a year, they have to come back with 5%, 7%, or 10% new product.
Again, see, this is something I can't say. There are organizations who want to focus on some products at which they are cost leaders on. Let's say steel industry. Okay, so if we are talking about steel industry, so steel industry normally try to be cost leaders. And organization have to be supplying A grade quality or A+ grade quality at the cheapest rate. So that's where the cost leadership comes in.
But
right?
Eventually,
But let's say if they're, let me complete, Amit. So let's say if they are also into the making of utensil products from the steel operations, and they have a lifestyle business, they will not focus then on only on the cost leadership. Then they will get into the differentiation strategy of selling a unique product or at a maybe at a much higher price. So I think it varies organization to organization. So from see, to be very honest, someone who took example on the McDonald's and Burger King, I think the purpose is not cost leadership there. I think the intent of them is to have a standard product and a standard taste available in different markets across from a QSR standpoint of view. So they really don't want to be cost leaders. I mean, they want to provide a standard product at a with a standard SKU that is available for with the same recipe across market, across geography. And per se, they're not cost leaders. People doesn't go for a low price burger there, right? So I don't know if we would like to classify that as a cost leader.
Yes, sir, I got it.
Does that make sense? Any other views on this, folks? I'm more than happy to take
Yeah, Ankita here. So what I understand is cost leaders would more basically include those where the product is very similar. So the competition is
product
very high.
has differentiation almost zero. Almost zero.
Right.
So very simple is, guys, let's say for example,
Maggie, if I take Maggie,
Maggie could be a good product. Maggie could be a good product. Yes, it's a standard product. Let's say even it's very less. They have their own niche market now, so hardly with Maggie there are very few products that can be replaced. So it's mostly on the competitive strategy point of view. The cost leaders. There's no such differentiation strategy now. So now in that case, you can say yes. Earlier it was just Maggie, but after new segments came in, they wanted to differentiate their Maggie in different with having new taste coming in. So they brought in different kinds of Maggie. So that could be some at some point of time they would have adopted differentiation strategy also. So as we move forward, we will understand that organization try to adopt both of it. But that gives 2 points of view. One is that yes, they give a flexibility to the buyer that they can have multiple options. The other point of time, it is their image that comes in place, whether they're cost leaders or they're differentiators. Whether, let's say if a person want to buy a Jaguar or a luxury car, then it is more from a differentiated or luxury product point of view rather than cost point of view. So this is how I see it. Yeah. Any other views, guys? Can we move forward?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now
can we include OYO as well in the cost-effective leadership?
I think that would be a good option. So I think they are trying to provide a lot of services at much cheaper prices. So you can see they're ultimately again though they are giving a platform and they are also an aggregator, but I think the intent that they have is at a right price of product, or maybe a little bit more effective pricing point of a product, they can probably give a better service. So again, see,
as you mentioned that it closely supervises its labor force. Hi, it's Soumya here.
So this is just an example, Soumya. It is not a let's say a protocol that has to be followed, but this is just an example that, let's say in manufacturing unit, you will normally see there will be a close supervision on the labor force. The people who are handling the receiving process, the people who are handling the manufacturing process, sitting on the line and the conveyor belts and loading, unloading. So those are normally closely supervised. The movement that happens at the factory and the warehouse to the forklift, those are closely supervised. So that's why, because their cost leadership is there. So they want a close supervision so that it has a better yield in place. There are less and less wastages in place, and things follow a structured process.
Then we may classify Indigo Airlines also into this cost leadership in the present scenario. Can we?
I mean, see, yes, you can say if they are able to provide at a right price at a cheapest cost. Yes, they are cost leaders. I mean, I don't want to classify in this forum that this organization is a cost leader and this is a differentiator. We're just putting some perspective that when any organization want to be a cost leader, what are their thoughts and what are their working style, and versus what is there is a differentiation when an organization is thinking from a differentiation strategy point of view. What are the thoughts in the organization mind? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think critical parameters you guys have understood when when we are talking about cost leadership strategy point of view. Organizations management are with the view that okay, we have to provide at a lowest cost better pricing so that we can have a more market share, we can play on the economies of scale, we can have a more market share so that our overall margin gets increased. Okay, so that's on it. So now what are the key risks on a cost leadership strategy, guys? Important is advances in technology or imitation by competitors. Imitation is nothing, it's like a copy by competitors. So one is that the risk is advances in technology. Let's say there's a new technology coming in and our products are still manufactured on an old technology product. So which means the new technology can, let's say, produce many more units in a per minute per minute, let's say. So due to new technology and new technology being adopted by competitors, they can have probably a low cost product in place as compared to the existing manufacturing unit or the plant and machinery that we're using. Does that make sense? So let's say I am into FMCG segment, or let's say I'm into a beverages operation, and I use a technology or I use a machine which produces, let's say, 100 bottles per minute. And now suddenly there's a new technology which is more faster and which can produce, let's say, 500 bottles per minute. Maybe the technology cost is high of the plant and machinery, but of course that will increase the efficiency, that will increase the faster space of production also, and maybe give more yield also. So what is happening is there is a risk that there will be advance in technology, we will not be able to adopt it, and someone as a competitor will adopt it and can produce more at a better rate, at a better cost. So that's a risk, advances in technology. And or imitation by competitors. So we have drive a way to get at a least cost. Now competitor has just copied it. So that's a risk basically from a it would be same. Imitation by competitors can be also in differentiation strategy. They copy your whatever you are trying to differentiate, they copy it as it is. So differentiation strategy will also have a similar risk. Now moving on to the next is adoption by many firms of a narrow cost focused strategy in the market segment. So what does it mean? It says that, okay, there are many firms who want to sell at a cheapest rate. Okay, so you are, let's say, into a supply, into a process. Let's say you are a supplier for a mustard seed, or let's say for any other ITC products, and there are other businessmen sitting there, and now you are cutting down that, okay, you want to take less margin because you want to increase the market share. Others also reduce their pricing. So ultimately you probably will not be able to take edge of reduced price and increasing the market share. Everyone is reducing. So ultimately it's because of that competition and that strategy being adopted by multiple business houses, the margin gets reduces. Okay, so that's on the B. And then we have C point, failure to consider product and marketing changes. For example, the cost advantage must outweigh the differentiation advantage of others. So this is again very important. Let's say the differentiated product is at a very less increased price as compared to the cost leadership product. So which means I can have a much better product at a very less differentiated cost. So of course, in that case, I will not go with cost leadership. I'll go with the differentiated product, right? So let's say Maruti Suzuki is selling a car at a less cost, but I have a much good quality of a car at, let's say, hardly a 20, 30, 40K difference. So probably I'll go with a differentiated product rather than the cost leadership. Does that make sense? Yeah. So any other point of view, guys? Otherwise, we move to the next one on the differentiation strategy. Are you clear with the cost leadership?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
So focus. All right. So guys, if you can recall, please remember this is important. When we talk about cost leadership, it is only for the broad scope. Okay, which means it is from an industry segment point of view. It is not from a narrow segment point of view. Okay, it has a broad scope. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah.
All right.
So Arpit, hello, Ankita here. So can we say that cost leadership is more from the perspective of market penetration? So because it won't last for long, any organization will not be a cost leader for a long period of time. It has to shift to differentiation strategy at some point?
No, Ankit, I have a different view. I think it will be, if an organization has to sustain for a long, it will be mostly on the cost. Market penetration, for market penetration, the pricing strategy is there that, okay, even below the cost you're trying to sell so that you can penetrate the market and then you eventually increase the prices. Once the people are habitual of taking your service, then you basically, that is a market penetration strategy, which normally now any new startup follows, right? So they want to penetrate the market, they want to come with discounts, free of cost supplies and services. They're trying to penetrate the market, and once people are habitual of using that, they will increase or put a subscription cost, or you will increase the pricing, right? So that is market penetration. Cost leadership is actually more followed for a longer term, because organizations try to be cost leaders. If you see, ITC will not be increase their pricing so frequently, right? Or for that matter, any other larger manufacturing houses will not increase their pricing unless there is actual inflation in the economy. So that is how I see it. As normally cost leadership is prevalent, and it is for all scalable units, all scalable business. Cost leadership can only lead you to that success. Differentiation will not. Differentiation is more unique in nature. More specific to an individual customer. Okay, a person needs an individual unique experience, so we get into a differentiation strategy, and differentiation strategy could be less scalable also.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so let's move forward, guys. So let's move forward. I think we're clear with the cost leadership strategy. Now understand differentiation strategy. So differentiation strategy seeks to provide a unique product or service. It has a broad scope. Again, it has a broad scope. If it would have mentioned a narrow scope, then what would have been it? What would it have been a differentiation strategy, or it would have been a focused differentiation strategy?
Focus.
So focus differentiation.
Right. So that is something that you have to remember. So differentiation strategy seeks to provide a unique product or service. It has a broad scope. Such a firm may earn higher profits if consumers are willing to pay a higher price, but the price difference must exceed the additional cost of the differentiated product or service. Of course, whenever I'm justifying, no, I am giving a unique product, I'm giving a differentiated product, that's the reason our price is high. So of course, that differentiation should come. So that differentiation benefit experience should be more than the additional cost that we are charging. So, but the price difference must exceed the additional cost of the differentiated product or service. Successful differentiation creates a buyer belief that few, if any, substitutes are available, thus the firm may be able to pass supplier cost increase to buyers. This is something that you have to remember, guys. Let's say in case the supplier is increasing the price. Okay, so normally in a differentiation strategy, you will be easily able to replicate that. No, my suppliers have increased the price, and that's the reason we will increase the price. So it's very easy in differentiation strategy to increase the price. However, if there are suppliers increasing the price, normally in cost leadership, you try to reduce the cost and keep the prices same, because if you increase the price suddenly, you can lose the market share. Let's take a classic example. Let's say Maruti Suzuki has increased the price suddenly, okay, and all other automobile companies or manufacturing units have not reduced the pricing. So normally you will see why people will start reducing the budgets of Maruti Suzuki and then increase other options as a substitute. So that's why in cost leadership, you will normally see that the increase in the price is normally seen from a competition point of view, and it is normally an industry trend that you see. But in differentiation strategy, it's much easier to increase the price in case the supplier increases the price. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So can I quickly hear the word yes from everyone? There are 25 people. I can hear only 3-4 people participating.
Yes.
So guys, another
10
minutes, 15 minutes max, and then we take a break. So this is important. So Amma, Pranjal, are you with us? Bhanu, Dhyana, Govardhan?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Kingston, Lavina, Nitin?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So differentiation, as I said, guys, so this is something that we have understood. So differentiation seeks to provide a unique product or service. It has a broad scope. Such a firm may earn higher profits if consumers are willing to pay a higher price, but the price difference must exceed the additional cost of the differentiation product service. Successful differentiation creates a buyer belief that few, if any, substitutes are available. Thus, a firm may be able to pass supply cost increase to buyers. Uniqueness may be based on, for example, massive promotion, excellence of design, superior service, technical leadership, or brand identification. Typical strength of successful broad scope differentiators are close cooperation of effective R&D team and a strong marketing function, creative product development, a reputation for quality or technical leadership, a long tradition. Sometimes even the legacy becomes a differentiated product, right? So sometimes we say, okay, we have to go to Old Delhi to enjoy some snacks, which is a long tradition that is followed. So that's the differentiation strategy. Effective coordination with suppliers and distributors, and ability to apply the expertise of other enterprise and ability to attract skilled or creative people. So that's a typical strength of successful broad scope differentiators.
So an example could be Netflix in India, I mean, or anywhere for that matter.
So what do you think Netflix is following differentiation strategy or cost leadership?
Differentiation, because it has been charging a premium till this year. This year it reduced in Indian market as the news was there, but until then it was having a very high subscription rates in India because of certain series or whatever it had, and there was a follower of that.
Yeah. So you can say yes, if they are able to supply those differentiation categories that you can have a more polished content or more variety of content with us, then of course they are then focusing on differentiation, that this is, let's say there are separate channels for kids and separate channels for a different audience. So and based on that they're differentiating. So yes, they can be part of differentiation strategy. But yeah, so I think that's a good example. You can take that.
What you told about the long tradition.
I give you an example. No? You're going to a Old Delhi and you want to have a something which a legacy product, you can charge a premium for that. So
that is snacks time. Snacks. Got it.
True. So a long tradition, something like a legacy product. So people are habitual of that long tradition product and want to try and taste that. So that can be a differentiating product that, okay, we are into business and from 100 old years. So let's take an example of a of a hospitality industry. Let's say if you're talking about a fort, which is a long tradition, a legacy fort, a stay in that fort could be a X price just because it's a long tradition and a legacy fort as compared to even a 5-star property, right? So that could be one differentiating point. Yeah? So now moving on, risk of differentiation strategy, guys. So risk of differentiation strategy, can I have a volunteer in who can read risk of differentiation strategy now? Anyone?
Sir, Kingston here.
Kingston, please go ahead.
Risks of differentiation strategy include maturity of the industry with successful imitation by competitors, changes in consumer taste or lower demand for a differentiating factor, adoption by many firms of a narrow differentiation focus in their market segments, a decrease in brand loyalty as lower cost competitors improve quality.
Right. Would you like to share what you have understood?
So basically it talks about the risk, and to start with the maturity of the industry. So it totally means that maturity in the industry with successful imitation by the competitors. So if there are other competitors with the same maturity, right? Or how if my company is for 10 years and there is another company for 8 or 9 years, they are the same company and they are imitating the program.
They're just copying it. Yeah. So basically this is something that we've just understood in cost leadership also, guys. So there was advance in technology, or there was, let's say there was something where we were having the strength. So now it is imitated or it's copied by the competitor. So it's basically the risk in similar is the risk in the differentiation strategy also, that either the industry is so matured that that everyone is able to produce that differentiated product that we used to call it, and it has now become a standard product for anyone to supply. So the one is that it has matured, And the second is that it can be easily copied. So maturing of the industry with successful imitation by competitors is a risk to a differentiation strategy that organization is following. Yes, second one.
Second one is basically, there is a change now. If we say 10 years before, there was a market share, and now the customer taste has been changed, or the demand has been reduced. So, that is basically a risk for a differentiating factor.
Yeah, so one classic example could be, let's say, for the first time from a differentiation point of view, we have tried it from a high price perspective. That we want to try something differentiative, something unique. So for that, we have paid high price. Now suddenly the demand is gone because that experience is already done. That differentiation, there is no such differentiation that the customer is thinking, or there's a change in the customer taste. So, and he want to probably go for a more standard product. So in that case, he will go for organization which can give at a better price rather than at a increased price on account of differentiation.
So I think Netflix just perfectly works on this criteria, like, because maybe earlier, before the pandemic, there were certain web series for which the subscription was being paid even high by a particular audience in India for Netflix. But now there are multiple OTT platforms like Amazon Prime, Sony Live with their own production of Indian regional languages, which has reduced the viewership of Netflix in India. So the brand loyalty has been reduced, as we can see, and similar, all the four things can be applicable on the case study.
Yes. So you can say that yes, there are more competitors coming in, similar copies that is happening. There now the earlier people were only dependent on Netflix. Now they are moving to all the other platforms as well. You're correctly mentioning it, and based on that, of course the market share gets reduced, right?
Including even change in behavior patterns. Earlier, ownership used to be the structure. Now, people are more than happy in terms of taking it as a service and as a rental. So that shift has also, made a big shift in user behavior. So it has impacted the automobile industry from owning vehicles to, you're getting into the Olas and the Ubers of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also Zoom cars, rentals.
Right. All right, so folks, as we move forward, so adoption by many firms of a narrow differentiation, something same we have understood in cost leadership also, that every other firm is a cost leader. So they want to sell at a least price by keeping the least margin in themselves. So similarly, from a differentiation perspective, that everyone want to be differentiating. So there is a minor differentiation that we have made to the product. Another company is making more differentiation. So adoption of many firms of a narrow differentiation focus in their market segments could be a risk, and a decrease in brand loyalty as lower cost competitors improve quality. So let's say earlier we were differentiating by saying that we have a better quality product, and now the low cost competitors have increased the quality, by having the right set of controls in place or whatever new technology coming in place. So they're almost giving the similar quality. So of course, in that case, the market share or the differentiation strategy is at a risk. Okay, so I think we're clear with the cost leadership and differentiation. Is it clear? Anyone, any doubt on this? Are we all clear with this?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's move forward now. Again, this is very simple. It's called cost focus and focus differentiation. So cost focus is now again from a narrow scope point of view. So which is, when I say narrow, it is for a regional market, it is for a specific product line, it could be for a specific location, specific business, specific division. It could be very, very focused. It has a narrow scope. It is not like a broad scope from a holistic point of view, right? So cost focus seeks lower cost, but with a narrow scope. Example, a regional market or a specialized product line. The reason is that the narrower market can be better served because the firm knows it well. So of course, if we are focusing on a particular region, particular segment, and let's say if it is for a very specific region, so regional language becomes important, the taste gets important, the culture become important. So it is very specific to a particular region. So it can be always served better by the localites or by the people who know that culture better, right? So cost focus, when we say focus cost strategy, it is more from a narrow scope point of view. It is then targeting for a regional market or a specific product line level. Firms that successfully adopt a cost focus strategy achieve stronger customer loyalty. Their strengths and attributes are similar to those of cost leaders again. So what we have studied in cost leaders. Now, risk of cost focus strategy. What are the risks for cost focus strategy? Can I have a volunteer in who can read this? What are the risks for a cost focus strategy? Anyone? Guys, this is the last thing before break. After this, we'll take a break before we get into the next topic of growth share matrix.
Soumya here, I can volunteer.
Soumya, please go ahead.
Risks of a cost-focused strategy include lower purchasing volume and weakness relative to suppliers. The advantage of a narrow scope offset by the cost advantage of broad scope competitors. More narrowly focused competitors serving their niche better. Changes in the narrow market. A broad scope competitor changing its product or service to compete effectively in the narrow market.
Yeah. So let's cover one by one. So the first risk we are saying is lower purchasing volume and weakness relative to suppliers. So what does it mean? Soumya, you want to throw some light? What did you understood?
Basically, because it is this narrow scope means that it is serving a regional area or a smaller area, so the purchasing volumes would be limited. So
Yes.
the supply which is placed to the suppliers, that is a quantity of purchase which is placed to the supplier, will be relatively lesser. So there will be the monopoly with the supplier cannot be obtained here, unlike in the bigger one,
Cost leadership. Yeah.
cost leadership one.
So I think instead of monopoly, I think if we use the word economies of scale, that will become better, right? So we don't have much volume also. So if we don't have much volume in a narrow market, so of course we'll not be able to negotiate better with our suppliers. We will not be able to play on economies of scale. So that could be one risk of a focused cost strategy, because even if we are cost focused, since we don't have adequate volume, so probably we'll not be able to play on economies of scale and have a better negotiation with the suppliers. So that's a risk from a cost focused strategy if we are talking about a very narrow market. Let's move to the next one now. Advantages of a narrow scope offset by the cost advantage of broad scope competitor. So what does we understood by this?
So basically, in a narrow scope, like what I can think of an example is, as you said, as somebody mentioned in the class about a Burger King or a McDonald's. So there would be local vendors offering the same burgers and things. But there was a case study actually. The McDonald's, when entered into India, they had a tie-up with the Madhya Pradesh or some regions. Farmers to grow a certain type of potato so that it grows that big, so that they can have that much big fries actually. So, but that advantage can be had by a broad scope like a McDonald's, which cannot be had by a normal local vendor, because it is offset by the cost advantage of a broad.
I think let's simplify, Soumya. So I think with your example only. So what we are saying is, let's say there is since we are talking about cost focus and we are talking about a specific narrow market. So we are saying that okay, there are, let's say, in a regional market at a cost focus level, which is specific to the customer requirement, there are certain supplies made by the suppliers. Let's say a burger now here, and at the same pricing, or maybe at a lesser than that pricing, a broad scope competitor has come with the same taste, okay, with the same taste, same culture, with the same customer requirement. So what it is saying, the advantage of the narrow scope offset by the cost advantage of the broad scope competitor. So the advantage of the narrow scope, the advantage of being into a specific market from a cost focus point of view for a specific customer requirement, is now offset by the cost advantage of broad scope competitor. So that's on the second. Now the third one is more narrowly focused competitors serving their niches better. So there are multiple such focused competitors, narrow focus in the narrow market. So then in that case there is a risk, because of course if there are so many competitors who are serving accordingly, so of course that's another risk. Then the D point is changes in the narrow market. So if there is changes in the narrow market or taste or the customer requirements, so that's again a risk. And finally, a broader scope competitor changing its product or service to compete effective in the narrow market. Similar to what we have discussed above. So a broader scope competitor who was not earlier being very specific to the narrow market and having a standardized product have now customized it for the narrow market. In that case, the cost focus strategy may be at risk. Okay, so then we have focus differentiation, guys. Again, similar to that, seeks to provide a unique product or service, but with a narrow scope. The analysis of these firms is similar to that of cost focus firms. Okay, so I think this is all on the 4 strategies, guys. So far what we have understood is what is strategy, strategic planning, management, target market, strategic market, concept of BCU, strategic control measure, effectiveness of internal and external. Under strategic control measures, when we say that we are measuring strategic control measures at BU, operating system, and department level, what are the areas we look from internal point of view, external point of view? Who defines strategic goals? Who define tactical goals? Operational goals are defined by low-level managers. Something on those lines we have understood. Phases for organization planning, where we have understood the key one. The first step is mission statement, then translation into tactical goals and all. Management by objectives, where we're focusing on the objectives, and then management by means. How do we achieve those objectives? Understanding different types of synergy, where we have covered market, cost, technological management. Understanding different operation strategy, where we have covered cost, quality, delivery, flexibility, service. 5 types of the operation strategy. Competitive strategies on the scope level and advantage level. So 2 types of scope: broad, narrow, advantage, low cost, unique product. And then the 4 competitive strategies, which is cost leadership, differentiation, focus, strategy cost, focus, the differentiation strategy. So are you all clear? Can you now reflect back on what we have understood? Are you all clear with all the topics that we have mentioned here? Is it clear? Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. So let's take a quick 15 minutes break. It's already 7:26. So let's connect at 7:40 after 14 minutes. And with that, we can then start with another important topic. Let me tell you guys, the next topic, which is again a small one, growth share metrics. And these few strategies are very, very important from examination point of view. We need to know, okay, which SBU to represent under which matrix as a quadrant. Which SBU represent what? Whether it's a cash cow, it's a dog, it's a question mark, it's a star. It's just important to understand what is cash cow, what is dogs, what is question mark, what is stars. So this growth share matrix and then competitive strategies and quarter 5 forces and firm orientation is something that we'll quickly cover. That's part of the main agenda. And still, if the time permits, we'll also touch base a bit on the globalization side. Okay, so let's quickly take another a 15 minutes break and let's connect at around 7:40. Will that be okay?
Sir, can I ask a small doubt?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. People who want to take break, please go ahead and take break, and you can ask your question there.
Okay. Sir, could you show that sheet in the competitive advantages, competitive scope showing the broad and narrow? That page number 13. 13, our book.
Okay, book in the book. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See here, there is we can say a competitive scope. That means broad and narrow. First one is cost leadership.
Sorry, I didn't get your name. That is.
Sorry, my name is Bashir.
Okay, Bashir. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. See, first broad basis, it is a cost basis. Second one is the unique product, different.
Right.
See, when we come to the narrow market, it is again come to the regional basis, focused strategy. And here it is mentioned there's strength and attributes are similar to those cost leader. That means here.
No. So it's basically okay. I got it. I got your point. So don't confuse yourself. It's mostly, if you see, this is basically trying to be cost focused. It's not saying cost leader. It is saying the way we have read cost focus, where we have understood cost focus strategy similar to what we have studied in the cost leadership. Similar things is for focus differentiation. Okay, so if I have to relate it, let's say. It says the analysis of these firms is similar to that for cost focus firms. Okay,
yes,
so under cost focus, if you see, we have tried to relate it with cost leadership, right? So
okay.
So similarly in focus differentiation, if we have to analyze it, we will probably analyze with the same differentiation strategy only.
Yeah, that is I coming to say, sir. This broad and narrow competitive scope cost concern is same. What I mean, it's a cost concern attributes and strength is same. But for the unique, that means differentiation product, say it is not. You see, the analysis of this firm is similar to that of cost firm. Cost focus.
Oh, no, don't take that. When it says similar, it doesn't say it is same, right? When it says similar, it means that the analysis is same on the same lines of cost focus, which doesn't mean that, okay, for focus differentiation, these are the same risk. It doesn't mean that. It means that the way we have analyzed the risk from a cost focus point of view, which is in line to the cost leadership, in the same way, the focus differentiation is there. So let's take an example here. Let's say the risk of cost focus strategy is lower purchasing volume and weakness relative to suppliers. Okay. So lower purchasing volume will not help us in the economies of scale, right? And it will not help us. It will also affect the. It will also not lead us to have a better negotiation with the suppliers, right? So in the focus differentiation, however, what was the risk? The risk was largely that maturing of the industry with successful imitation by competitors, changes in the consumer taste or lower demand for differentiating factor, right? So here what we are saying is in the focus differentiation market also, let's say now this become a more narrow market, right? So in a more narrow market, if similar problem happens, that there is a change in demand or customer need, then actually you lose the entire business. So what I'm trying to say, let's say we are in a differentiation strategy market, right? So I am producing a differentiation strategy product. Let's say I'm producing let's take I'm taking a hypothetical example to help you to understand. Let's say I'm into a differentiation strategy of producing a luxury car. Okay. So luxury car is, let's say, Jaguar. Okay, so Jaguar, I'm in supply. So Jaguar I can supply as a differentiation strategy across the globe. Okay, so that is a broad scope market, right? Now let's say if I am supplying Jaguar only in one country, let's say India, okay, and even reduce it from India to, let's say, one market, let's say only Hyderabad, okay. So from a focus differentiation, which is more narrow scope, let's say if the taste of people change in that particular market or that particular small region or small geography, then what will happen is it's a very huge risk. So that is how you have to think on the same lines. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's understood. I took imagine the same what you said, the Jaguar car or a Rolls Royce, I took the same example on imagine people are different examples coming, but I took the example for the cost leadership is a Maruti Suzuki car, and for the differentiation I took the Rolls Royce car.
So again for Rolls Royce car, but you have to probably think in that way that, okay, why we are saying differentiation, we were talking about from a broad scope, and focus is when we're talking about narrow. So under narrow, the problem with the narrow market is it's so small already, probably, and too focused that if something more suddenly happens, then a person can almost lose the business, because any which ways the business house is serving very small market, right?
But I understood, but I concluding here what texted here. Narrow market differentiation is not similar to the broad market differentiation. That is a here. See, there is a two different unique product for the narrow and broad, but it is the similarity or analysis of these two firms is not same. Maybe I confusing you. But anyway, I understood the things. Just I noticed here, because cost is the broad and narrow is same, but unique is not same. That is
don't worry. So don't worry. Let's not confuse. Just keep it simple. There are two scopes. One is broad, one is narrow. There are two strategies, which is cost and differentiation. If you're talking about a broad market, it's cost leadership. We understand what is cost leadership now. We have an understanding, right? That in the cost leadership, we cannot supply differentiated products. We can only play a role of economies of scale. And there is, of course, there are certain risks. And in similar to differentiation strategy also, from a broad point of view, what are the key risks? I think that's sufficient. Only from a focus point of view, just think that, okay, when we talk about focus market or a narrow market, we are talking about focus differentiation, focus cost, because then we are serving a specific segment. So don't worry, examiner is not going to really ask you each pointer here. It will be more of a practical thought process which will be coming, and then you will have underlining understanding. We have the concept clarity, don't worry.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So it's already 7:34. So let's now take a break. So 7:35. Let's connect in 10 minutes. So let's connect it around 7:45. Or people, are others also with us?
We are there. We are there.
You're there. So let's connect back on 7:50. Will that be okay? 15
Yes,
minutes.
please. Yes, please.
All right. So 7:50 we connect. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
thanks.
Folks, are you all with me? Are you all back?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So maybe another 30 seconds, and then we start.
Yes, yes.
Any doubts in between? Are you all clear so far?
Yes, Arpit.
All right. Request you all to keep yourself on mute unless not speaking. All right, let's start, folks. So far, what we have studied, folks, is on the competitive strategies. Now we are starting a new topic, which is on the growth share matrix. Are you all with me? Can I quickly hear the word yes from everyone? Once again?
Yes,
Yes,
we are with you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. So growth. Yeah. So growth share matrix, guys. Now, so what is growth share matrix? So folks, growth share matrix basically, I'll come on that. So growth share matrix basically has two parameters to measure on. One is called market share. The second is business growth rate. Okay, so on the vertical axis, you have BGR, which is called business growth rate. And the second is on the horizontal axis, which is market share. So market share, we all understand what is market share, right? So kind of business volume that we have in the market, how much of the market do we serve, or how many customers we have in the overall population. So what is the kind of market share we have? Okay, so that's on the market share. Business growth rate is basically how rapidly the business is growing. And one important part of BGR, business growth rate, is the cash required for expansion. Okay, so the higher the BGR is, the higher the cash is required. The lower the BGR is, the lower the cash required. Okay, so don't think that, okay, business growth rate of less percentages, less percentage means that we are growing slowly. Just think that, okay, low business growth rate, this component is more from a cash perspective. Okay, cash required for expansion perspective. Is that clear? When you are reading business growth rate, how you have to take it? You have to take it as a cash required for expansion. Is that clear? Is that clear?
yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. So growth share matrix basically, folks, is helping all of us to. It's basically a means of analyzing a portfolio of investment in strategic business units. We have already understood what is SBU now. So growth share matrix helps us to analyze a portfolio of investment in SBUs. This approach supports resource allocation, new business startup and acquisition, downsizing, or divestitures. So of course, when we move forward, we'll understand that under which particular matrix, which quadrant, or which SBU, what action we should take if the SBU is falling as a cash cow. What action we should take. So basically, growth share matrix is helping. It's supporting resource allocation, new business startups and acquisition, downsizing, and divestitures. Now let's understand what is growth share matrix, guys. So this is given by mostly by the BCG group. So Boston Consulting Group model for portfolio strategy has two variables. It says business growth rate and market share. Okay. So now these are basically quadrants. This is a quadrant which says, okay, SBU could be a star, SBU could be a question mark, SBU can be a cash cow, SBU can be a dogs. Okay. Now, what are these? These are small SBUs in a quadrant. Okay, so this is one SBU. This is the circle ones are different SBUs in the quadrant. Now, how we have to see it is, guys, is what is cash cow, what is stars, what is question marks, what is dogs. So it's simple. It's actually simple. See, let's say the market share is high. If for a strategic business unit, if the market share is high and the cash required for that market share for that expansion is low, so it is a cash cow. Is that clear? If the market share is high, MS is high, and the BGR is low, which means we need less cash to expand, it's a cash cow. Okay, if the market share is high and the BGR is also high, which means we need more cash to expand. So though we have a good market share, but to expand, we need to have more cash. So then it becomes a star. Are we all clear with this? Can you all say that with me? If the market share is high and the BGR is low, it is what? It's a
Cash
cow.
cows.
If it is a market share is high and the BGR is high, in that case we are a star. Okay. Now let's say if the market share is low and the BGR is also low, which means the market share is very low and the business growth rate is very low. In that case, it is a dogs. And when we say the market share is low, however, the business growth rate is high. Okay. So if the market share is low, but we need a lot of cash to expand, then it's a question mark. Okay. So are you all clear with what is cash cow, stars, question mark, dogs? From a growth share matrix perspective, of course, we'll understand what do we mean by cash cow, stars, question marks, and dogs. But are we clear with the growth share matrix? On the horizontal side, we have market share, and this is BGR, which is business growth rate. We have to see it from a cash or finance needed for expansion purpose. Okay. So now let's read this part, the two things that we are talking about, and then we will understand how do we categorize SBUs into different quadrants and different categories. So the business growth rate, folks, the business growth rate, BGR, also referred to as market growth rate, is on the vertical axis. It relates to the maturity and attractiveness of the market and the relative need for cash to finance expansion. Okay, so the relative need for cash to finance expansion. Market share is on the horizontal axis. The market share reflects an SBU's position in the market segment relative to the competitors. Okay, now let's understand SBUs. What does SBUs represent? So SBUs are represented by the quadrants, in the quadrants by the circles. So these are the different strategic business units in each of the quadrant. A circle is proportional to the SBU position in the entity portfolio. Now let's understand, guys, the first one, which is the dogs. So dogs has a low market share and a low business growth rate. Okay, so since it has very low market share and there is the attractiveness towards the market is also very low, though they need a very low. It's a weak competitor. It doesn't has really. It doesn't have a market share. It doesn't have the majority of the market is not much to attract more business clients to it, and so the cash is also less required. So it's a weak competitor. In dog, we have low market share and a low business growth rate. These are weak competitors in the low growth market. They're candidates for disposal. Net cash flow is modest. Okay, so really dogs normally we normally follow a strategy of harvest or divest. Okay, we'll understand that later. So we really don't want to put more energy on this because it is neither giving more market share, neither giving there's no growth rate there's no possibility of much of expansion on this. So that these are classified as dogs. Is that clear? Are you clear with dogs? Low market share, low business growth rate. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let's read the next one now, the question marks. The question mark says it's a low market share, but it has a high business growth rate, which means that this is again a weak competitor, which needs a lot of cash to expand. But what is happening? One is that it needs a lot of cash, and however it has a good image or good attractiveness that okay, this can increase. Now question mark can either become a star or it can become a dog. Let's say despite putting much of cash, there is no further increase in the business, and let's say eventually the attractiveness goes down and then it becomes to a dog category. Okay, so so question mark can then become also a star also, which means that suddenly because of the high cash required, they have also now increased the market share. So now the question mark come and become a star. Okay, so by putting more and more cash, the market share is increasing. So if that happens, then it becomes a star. Does that make sense? Is it confusing? Is it confusing? Okay, so let's try once again. Okay, guys. First of all, let's be very clear. If you're talking about low market share and a low business growth rate, it is a dog, which means that neither it has a potential to expand. Okay, neither it is requiring any cash to expand, and neither it has a market share. Okay, so it is a business line, it's a strategic business unit which neither has a market share, not a business growth rate. So it's a dogs. Now question mark is having a low market share, but a high business growth rate, which means that we are putting a lot of money there and it has a maturity and there's a maturity and attractiveness in the market to increase the market share also. So that's why it is in a question mark category where there's required much of a cash to expand. It is a weak competitor, and that's why it is lying in the question mark category and with a low market share. So the question mark can move to either a star or it can be a dog. So suddenly, let's say if the business growth rate decreases and it's already in the low category of market share, then it become a dogs. And let's say if it is increasing the business growth rate, already it was in the BGR high category, let's say the market share also increases. In that case, it becomes to the star. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
All right, then the third is stars now. Under stars, we have a high market share as well as a high business growth rate. So we have a good market share as well. But however, what is happening is we need huge cash to run and acquire that market share. So then it becomes a star. Okay. However, in cash cow, we have a very low expense needs or low cash needed. However, we have a high market share, and that's why it is called a cash cow. So cash cow is where we have maximum profitability because we have a large market share and we have a very less cost to increase the market share, or let's say we really don't need that much of cost for expansion. So that's why it's a cash cow. So are we all clear with the growth share matrix? Underdog, it's called low BGR and low market share. Under question mark, we have low market share but high BGR. In stars, we have high BGR, high market share. And cash cow, we have low BGR and high market share. Is that clear? So now I will need volunteers. And so can you all read it first of all this together? Dogs is
low market share and low BGR.
I need all the other folks also to read. We are 25 plus folks. Can I have more voices in? Are you all with me? Can I quickly hear the word yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. So let's start, guys. Dogs is
Low market share,
Low BGR.
Question marks is
Low market share, high BGR.
cash cow is
High market share and low BGR.
low BGR.
Low
And stars
BGR.
low BGR. And stars
High
is
market share, low BGR.
Market share, high BGR.
high BGR. Yeah. So please don't confuse. I think
High market share and high BGR.
Yeah. So please remember, guys, cash cow, we are saying, see the intent of cash cow. Normally cash cow, it will, if we would have not read it, it would be reflecting that, okay, cash cow would be high business growth rate and high market share. But that's a star category. And that's where the crux and importance is. Business growth rate is two. One is the maturity and attractiveness of the market to increase the market growth and have a more volume in the business. And the second is cash required. Okay, cash required for expansion. For cash cow, we don't need the cash and we have a huge market share and the market share is high. That's why it is cash cow. Star is where we are saying that we have a high share, but we need huge money to expand. And that's why it is star. Okay. Is that clear? So that is what you have to remember. Cash cow, it's low BGR, high market share. Star, high BGR and high market share. Is that clear? Everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir, it's clear.
So of course, cash cow will be the most profitable, right? Because we don't really need the cash for that matter, and we have an adequate market share volume. So we can be most profitable in cash cow as compared to star, because star will be, though we have a market share, but we have an increased cost. And for a low BGR, low market share, it's not much of a scalability business, so not really much of a purpose. And question mark, as I said, that SBU can move to become a star or it can become a dog also, depending on how it moves. It is already exhausting a lot of cash because it's in the high BGR category. But let's say if we lose on that high BGR also, then it becomes a dog. And let's say if the market share increases, it becomes the star. Okay. So guys, now that is one thing that you have to remember, that okay, low MS, low market share, low BGR, which SBU or which growth under the growth matrix it falls under which category. That is one thing you have to remember. The other thing you have to remember is who are weak competitors and who are strong competitors. So remember, dogs and question marks are weak competitors. Okay, and cash cows and stars are normally strong competitors because they have high market share and a high BGR, and stars having high BGR and cash cows having low BGR. Okay, so remember, if we have to say from a competitor point of view, dogs and question marks category is a low competitor thing, and cash cow and stars are strong competitors. Is that clear? Those are the two things you have to remember. Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, so let's now read it out. So dogs, low market share, low BGR are weak competitors in the low growth markets. They are candidates for disposal. Net cash flow is modest. Question mark is low market share, high business growth rate are weak competitors that need cash infusion from cash cows. A question mark may become a star or a dog depending on whether market share increases significantly or not. Cash cow is high market share, low business growth rate are strong competitors and cash generators. The cash cow ordinarily enjoy high profit margins and economies of scale. The SBU's excess cash can be used for investment in other strategic business unit, but marketing and R&D expenses should not necessarily be reduced significantly, because let's say if the marketing gets reduced, or let's say the R&D, the innovation gets reduced, there could be possibility of losing the market share. Stars, again, high market share, high business growth rate are strong competitors in the high growth markets. Such an SBU is profitable but needs large amount of cash for expansion, R&D, and meeting competitors' attacks. So are we clear on the SBU positions and what they represent? Is that clear? So if we have to say a SBU is a dog, so what we'll say? It has a high market share, high growth rate, or what we'll say?
Low market share, low growth rate.
High BGR.
High BGR.
Low BGR, low growth rate.
Low BGR.
Dogs,
Low BGR.
low market share, low BGR. Okay, so this is how you have to remember this, guys. Now let's move to another thing now, which is each SBU. So each SBU should have objectives. A strategy should be formulated to achieve those objectives, and a budget should be allocated. Now these are the 4 strategies that will be followed depending on the SBU that falls into which category. So let's say whole strategy. So normally for a whole strategy, if the SBU is in under cash cow segment, okay, if under the cash cow category, so normally it will be a whole strategy, of course, guys, right? So it already has a high market share, it has a low business growth rate, as in from a cash perspective, they really don't need the cash, so they will of course hold it. They would like to be profitable for a long term, so that's why we follow whole strategy for strong cash cows. Okay, so then we have build strategy. Build strategy is necessary for a question mark with the potential to be a star. So of course, the question mark, which was in a low market share and a high BGR category. So what is happening is normally we'll follow a build strategy so that we can move it to a high market share segment, which will then become a star. Okay, so if I have to ask you for cash cow, which strategy will follow? What will be the answer?
Hold strategy.
Hold strategy. If I have to ask you that for question mark, normally if we have to see it this way, that for question mark, if we have to make it a star, which strategy we should follow?
Build strategy.
Build strategy. Even guys, let's say from a star strategy perspective, let's say if a category is into star and if we want to move it to cash cow, so which strategy we should follow? We should follow build strategy, right? We will try to build it that way so that we can move from star to even cash cow category. Okay, so then we have harvest strategy now, guys. Harvest strategy maximizes short-term net cash inflow. Harvesting means zero budgeting, R&D, reducing marketing costs, not replacing facilities, etc. This strategy is used for weak cash cows and possibly question marks and dogs. So harvest strategy can be applied on weak cash cow. Let's say if it is a weak cash cow, I mean, either it is having less market share or a high BGR, so or possibly question marks and dogs. So harvest strategy maximizes short-term net cash inflow. So we are trying to increase the cash inflow and decrease the cash outflow. So that is from a harvest strategy point of view. And divest strategy is normally used for question marks and dogs that reduce the firm profitability. The proceed of sale or liquidation are then invested more favorably. A harvest strategy may undermine a future divestiture by decreasing the fair value of the strategic business unit. So guys, basically, if we have to put it this way, whole strategy for cash cows, build strategy for question marks, and sometimes even for stars, to moving it to from star to cash cow, or from question mark to star category. Harvest strategy we will follow for weak cash cows, question marks, and dogs, and divest strategy mostly for question marks and dogs. So those are things that we have to remember, that which strategy will follow in which particular category.
So can we use the whole strategy for stars?
Sorry, Amit, I'm not clear with your query.
Sir, I'm saying, can we use the hold strategy for stars?
So normally, see, hold strategy you will not use for stars. The reason is because though it has a high market share, but there is a huge cash expansion going on. So you will always try to put a build strategy so that you can reduce the cash required. So normally you will follow the hold strategy where you are already well placed. There is not much of the scope of improvement, and you are already needing less cash for a huge market share. So that's where cash cow is a strong, perfect example there. Make sense?
Can a question mark be converted into cash cow through a harvest and a build strategy?
Harvest strategies normally you are trying to reduce reduce the time and effort on that. So how it will? So it will always move to a star normally and then a cash cow, right? So question mark, the first movement will be to star category and then ultimately the cash cow. So already it is in the high BGR rate and low market low market share. So first of all, it will move to the high market share, and then he has to come then to the cash cow, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So this is again important growth share matrix. You have to remember what this matrix is. What is cash cow? What is dog? What is questionnaire? What is stars? I know this sounds little funny that what is a dog, but yes, this is something which is proposed by the BCG.
Sir, harvest means we stop spending.
Yeah, so we are reducing the expend and we are trying to increase the inflow.
Yeah, okay. Reducing the expense, increasing the income.
Increasing the income, right? Okay. So I think, is that clear? The growth share matrix is clear, folks? Yeah.
Yes.
So are we clear now? What is growth share matrix? SBU representing cash cow, dogs, question mark, stars, and which strategy to be used in which scenarios: hold, harvest, build, and divest. So now another two important things: competitive strategies and bottom five forces, and understanding firm orientation. Those are two more important topics. And with that, we complete the first subunit on strategic management and planning. After that, we'll have globalization. If time permits, we'll cover something on the globalization, and we'll try to. Then with that, we'll try to wrap up the session on time. So let's start now the next part, guys. Now, which is on the competitive strategies and the Michael E. Porter forces, the 5 forces. We'll cover that. So let's quickly read this out. So structure analysis of industries. It says that an economy consists of sectors, industries, and segments, guys. So what are sectors? What are industries and segments? We normally understand. So let's say a sector could be a transportation sector, okay? And under the transportation sector, we have different industries. We have airline industry, we have roadway airline industry, we have a railway industry, a rail line industry, or we have a roadway industry, right? So different industries in a transportation sector. It could be automobile, it could be airline, it could be a passenger rail industry. Similarly, let's say healthcare is a sector, but then under the healthcare also we have different industries. It could be a medical equipment industry. It could be a facility, which is like a hospital, could be an industry. And let's say it could be a drug manufacturing, could be an industry. Are you getting it? So healthcare is a sector, and under the sectors, we have industries. And under the industries, we have segments. So the way Venkat also told initially. So let's say paint industry it's an industry under which we have multiple segments. The way Venkat gave example. So it is just giving us a perspective that a structure analysis of industries. Economy consists of sectors, industries, and segments. Sectors are the healthcare sector or the transportation sector of the economy. Within each sector are multiple industries. An industry is a group of firms that provide products or services meeting the same fundamental customer needs. So the transportation sector has an automobile industry, an airline industry, and a passenger rail industry. Each provides its own way of moving people from one place to other. A market segment is a set of customers with specific characteristics, needs, and wants. Thus, the automobile industry serves one market segment with sedans, another with sport utility vehicles, another with minivans, etc. Segment consists of customers, not firms. One firm in an industry may attempt to serve multiple segments. Michael E. Porter has developed a model of the structure of industries and competition. It includes an analysis of the 5 competitive forces that we will cover that determine long-term profitability as measured by long-term return on investment. A supplier may seek to limit buyers' power by choosing those with the least ability to bargain or switch to other suppliers. However, a preferable response is to make offers that are difficult to reject. Okay, so normally from a buyer perspective, we will try to reduce the bargaining power of a supplier. Otherwise, they can charge any price. So that will be the ultimate target from a buyer perspective. Now, then we have. So are we clear on this, guys? I think this was very basic. We all understand what is sector, industry, segments. Any doubt on this? Can we move forward?
Yes, sir.
All right. So then we have combination strategies now. According to bottom, using a combination of generic strategies may leave the firm stuck. And now this is something that we're talking about, that something that we have understood, guys. So should the organization apply only cost leadership, or should the organization only apply differentiation, or should the organization apply both? So this is something that we will understand, where we have taken, okay, the organization can focus on cost leadership first and maybe differentiation later, or maybe combination of both. And but we'll understand that some of them says that, okay, it could be a mix, but it could ultimately end up having a different image. So if I am into a service industry, maybe my strategy would be cost, or it could be differentiation also. So it depends on how I want to portray into the market, that I can give a similar quality of the product at a less cost, or I give a differentiated product irrespective of the cost, right? So how do you want to place yourself in the market is important, under which strategy. So that is sometimes confusing, and sometimes organization have to adopt both. So it depends upon which stage organization is. So that's what we'll understand in combination strategy, guys. It says, according to Porter, using a combination of generic strategies may leave the firm stuck in the middle, that is unable to create or sustain a competitive advantage. The danger is that attempting to follow more than one generic strategy will prevent the firm from achieving a competitive advantage. This pursuit of, for example, both cost leadership and differentiation may interfere with reaching either goal. Furthermore, even if the firm could succeed by following multiple generic strategies, the result might be an ambiguous public image. A firm that pursues multiple generic strategies may be more likely to succeed if it creates a separate strategic business unit to implement each strategy. So of course, this is possible, guys. So if we have different SBUs, at SBU level, one SBU could be under cost leadership, the other SBU could be under differentiation strategy as well. However, some writers argue that following a single strategy may not serve the needs of customers who want the best combination of product attributes, example, price, service, and quality. A firm also may need to adapt as a result of the changes that occur as the firm, its product or services, and the industry proceed through their life cycles. For example, an appropriate and successful focus strategy may need to be changed to a cost leadership strategy as the firm matures. As the scale increases, our focus will not be then differentiation. We'll try to standardize the process and bring down the cost, right? So then, that's a combination strategies. I think this is something that we've deliberated, discussed, understood. Any doubts on this, guys? Any doubts on this?
No, sir.
Are you all with me? Can I hear more? Yes, I could hear only.
Yes, sir, we're with you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Tannu, Shayan, Saishi, Nitin, Lavina, are you all with me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
So that's on the combination of strategies we have understood. Now, competitive strategies and Porter 5 forces. So
Sir,
Porter.
Sorry to interrupt, sir, but at different SBU level and different segment level, I can combine. Am I right?
So it's saying, see, normally for a SBU, you will see, normally for, see, if you go to the narrow market, right? So you can only say that either you are a cost leader or focus cost, or you will say that I provide differentiated product, right? So from an organization perspective, the organization is very big. So it is very difficult to say from an organization level that we are cost leaders only, because then we will miss out on the differentiation category. Okay, so like the example I gave from a steel manufacturing industry. So steel manufacturing industry, till the time we are playing in the volume in the B2B segment, then it's fine. We can say we are cost leaders and we can give the A-grade quality of steel at a, let's say, at the right price, at the most competitive price. But let's say we are also into the manufacturing segment of the utensils. Okay, then probably we would like to be differentiating it with the more quality per products and more designs and stuff like that. So then from an organization perspective, for one particular segment, from a manufacturing segment, or let's say manufacturing SBU point of view, they're cost leaders. But when we say into a B2C supply segment, from utensil industry point of view, manufacturing supply, we are more of a differentiation category. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
normally at a SBO segment level, you want to be more focused on which strategy you want to take. You will normally follow one, But at an overall level, from an organization perspective, you may follow multiple strategies for multiple SBUs or multiple segments. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now moving on, competitive strategies and Porter 5 forces. So Porter's generic strategies are response to the 5 competitive forces. So now there are 5 competitive forces, guys. What are the 5 competitive forces? I want you all to read. So the first one is rivalry among established firms. Can you all read it together? The first one is
Rivalry among established firms.
Second is threats of new entrants. Okay, so can you all read it? Threats of new entrants. Then we have threats of substitutes. The third competitive strategy. The fourth is bargaining power of customers, and then we have bargaining power of suppliers. So those are the 5 competitive forces. Okay. Okay. So now rivalry among established
suppliers.
Yeah. So rivalry among established firms. No, this is more from the manufacturing units, or let's say the organizations we are talking about who are following the strategy. So we are saying rivalry among established firms. So cost leadership permits a firm to compete by charging lower prices. So basically what we are trying to relate, the Porter 5 forces with the competitive strategies that we have studied. The competitive strategies, the 4 competitive strategies we have studied, right? What are those? The first one is? What are the 4 competitive strategies?
Cost leadership.
Cost leadership. Differentiation,
focus strategy,
focus cost, and focus
cost leadership and focus differentiation.
Yeah, so cost leadership, differentiation, focus cost, focus differentiation,
strategy.
right? Yeah. Sorry, which one? Okay, I hope we are clear with the 4 strategies, right, guys? Can I hear the word yes?
Yes.
All right. I know it's about 3.5 hours for us, almost 3 hours for us to study. I think more than that also. But another few minutes, otherwise don't worry, we'll not rush. We'll try to complete this part of it and then maybe do the things to remember, and we'll wrap up. We'll pick globalization tomorrow with some MCQs, but no rush, but let's participate. We should understand whatever we are reading, okay? So are you all with me? Can I quickly hear the word yes from everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, see this yes, I am not sure about this yes, which came last.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so now coming back on the Porter 5 forces. The Porter 5 forces were rivalry among established firms, threats of new entrants, threats of substitutes, bargaining power of customer, and bargaining power of suppliers. Rivalry among established firms, we are saying cost leadership permits a firm to compete by charging lower prices. Differentiation strengthens brand loyalty. Focus strategy provides superior attention to customer needs, whether for quality, price, or other product attributes. So from a rivalry among established firms, it is just saying that, okay, what a cost leadership will do. It will probably provide at a low price. Differentiation will increase brand loyalty, will increase market share on the basis of differentiating product. And focus will be more from a narrow point of view, for a regional segment point of view. So it will be more specific to the customer needs. And if it is a focused cost strategy, it will be more from a price and quality point of view. For a narrow market. So that's only part of it. The next is threats of new entrants. It says cost leadership permits a firm to reduce a price as a barrier to potential entrants. Okay, so threats of new entrants, of course, if it's a cost leader, let's say Reliance Jio, you all took the example of Reliance Jio. So Reliance Jio has decreased the price to that level that any new organization or even the existing organization are at a position that normally it's difficult to survive, right? So cost leadership permits a firm to reduce price as a barrier to potential entrants. This is from a new entrant point of view. And differentiation creates uniqueness and brand loyalty that are barriers to new entrants. If let's say there is a differentiating strategy being adopted, there could be such unique product, such patented product that it is difficult to produce the same. So threats of new entrants in the same segment. And focus strategy develop core competencies in narrow market again that potential entrants may not be able to match. So this is from new entrants point of view, that how cost leadership can restrict new entrant coming in, how differentiation strategy can restrict new entrant coming in, and how focus strategy can restrict new entrant coming in a narrow market. Moving on to the next one on threats of substitutes. Again, cost leadership may result in low prices that substitutes cannot match. Something like I took the example of Reliance Jio, where that pricing cannot be met by other companies like, let's say, Aircel, which used to be, and probably that's the reason they got merged to other groups. So that could be one example, that cost leadership may result in low prices that substitutes cannot match. Differentiation may create unique product service attributes not found in substitutes, and focus strategy develop core competencies or unique product attributes that may protect against substitutes and new entrants again. Okay, so same guys, basically what we are trying to use, we are trying to say, okay, on the basis of cost leadership or on the basis of differentiation or on basis of focus differentiation cost, it's a set of substitutes that no new substitute will come, and it's difficult to have a substitute product. Bargaining power of customers, of course, if we have a cost leadership in place. So cost leadership may enable a firm to remain profitable while charging the lower price required by the strong buyers. So even if the customers is bargaining and want a cheapest product, so since we are cost leaders, so it is easy to attain profits with a less margin also, because of having a cost leadership perquisites and still stay profitable. Differentiation may reduce the power of strong buyers because of the uniqueness of the product and the resulting lack of close substitutes. So bargaining power of customers, which is normally for more of a standard product, for a differentiation product, the customer will not be able to bargain much because we can easily differentiate that no such product or substitute is available in the market. So that is how this strategy gets linked from a bargaining power of customers point of view. And again, on similar line, focus strategy also may reduce buyers' ability to negotiate in a narrow market. Substitutes may not be able to compete on price, quality, etc. Okay, so then we have bargaining power of suppliers. Again, guys, can anyone tell me that in the cost of suppliers can be increased in which strategy? Is it the differentiation strategy or the cost leadership strategy? You have studied, guys.
Cost leadership strategy.
Differentiation, sir.
Differentiation.
Increase in the supplier cost can be charged to the customers in differentiation strategy or cost leadership?
Differentiation.
So all those who said cost leadership, any reason?
Sir, whenever somebody is developing a new product, you have to focus on supplier convergence, R&D, try of new products that increase the cost.
Yeah. No. So my question was different, Amit. So I was just asking a very important question where we are focused. In case of increase in price by the suppliers, we can easily pass on to the customers in which strategy. So I think we are clear, right? It's differentiation.
Yes.
Differentiation. Please remember that, guys. Okay.
Example could be Apple products typically.
Yeah. So then bargaining power of suppliers. So again, cost leadership provides protection from strong suppliers because we can offer volume and then we can have a more effective pricing in place. Differentiation may permit a firm to increase its price in response to supplier price increase, right? So this is something that we have to remember. If the price increases from the supplier, we can pass on to the buyers. So it's a differentiation strategy. Focus strategy must allow for the superior bargaining power of suppliers when sellers operate in a narrow, low volume market. For example, focus differentiation may permit the firm to pass along suppliers' price increase again on the same lines. So guys, with that, now we have the last topic from the first subunit, which is now firm orientation. Very simple. So it says that the firm orientation, which is organization orientation, could be a product-oriented firm, it could be a competitor-oriented firm, it could be a customer-centered firm, or it could be a market-centered firm. So product-centered firms focus primarily on the product, the quality of the product and all. Competitor-centered firm mainly focus on what the competitor is doing. So based on the move of the competitors, actions and reactions are taken by the competitor or by the organization. Customer-centered firm focus on the customer developments and delivering value to the customers. Okay, so that's more customer-centric. And then we have market-centered firms, which watches both customers and competitors, how competitors is responding, how do we satisfy the customer so that we can increase the market share. Okay, so again, market-centered firms is more from a market point of view, competition as well as customer. So finding the balance between customer and competitors is the most effective orientation in today's market. Are we clear? What are the 4 orientation we have from firm perspective? Can you all read it together? We have product-centered,
competitor-centered, customer-centered, and market-centered.
Customer-centered, market-centered.
Okay.
Customer center and market center.
Arpit, Dhriti this side. Can you please give an example of competitor-centered firm?
Yeah. So it's very simple. Let's say between Swiggy and Zomato, whatever Zomato does, Swiggy want to do, or whatever Swiggy want to do, Zomato want to do. So it's like a competitor-centered firm where whatever Zomato wants to do, Swiggy want to do, or Swiggy want to do, Zomato want to do. Or it could be another example is Pepsi and Coke. So whatever, it's a strong competitive market. Whatever Pepsi want to do, let's say Coke accordingly take action and vice versa, right? So let's say Pepsi have come into, let's say, a beverages division which is healthy in nature. Probably Coke will come in the same segment. So it's a strong competing market.
It's basically the same industry in which.
It's a close industry, and specifically a very close competitor. They act based on each other's moves, basically.
So telecom will also come under this, right? Airtel, Jio.
Yes, you can say that. Yeah, recently, let's say if the Jio have increased the price, so then Airtel and other sector also increase the price, and vice versa also happens. Yes. So competitor-center firms are basically take moves based on how the competitors are taking actions and reactions.
So Apple can be a product-centered firm. Can we say that?
Yeah, product-centered firm. You can say. It depends. It could be also customer-centered firm. Let's say if it is more from a delivering key value to the customer also. So it depends. It depends on the perspective, right? So
what could be an example of product-centered firm?
So product-centered firms is who are basically focusing. Their focus is on the product. Okay, so they are saying that okay, I want to create a product which is different, which has no issue in it, and it's flawless basically. So we are product centered. We don't care what is happening in the market, at what prices others are supplying. We are not customer centric. We are product centric. Okay, so I think that will be maybe you can take an example of Microsoft. Okay, so Microsoft is a product based company. It will be more product centered. That okay, I want my Microsoft Office should be such that it should enable everyone and anyone to do use of it. So probably that will become more product centric firm rather than
so niche products like watchmakers, like a Tag or an Adidas or of Tissot. The brand is it talks about the product and price is not really a factor to consider actually.
Yeah, I mean this will product center firms. One could be the niche products that Venkatesh mentioned, but what I'm saying is product center firms will focus mostly on the product rather than on the competitor or customer. Again, see this is just orientation, guys. Again, so let's say you will hear this a lot of times that organizations say we are customer centric. We understand our customers, we take feedback, we work on them, we do research, and we think from customer point of view. So that is a customer center firm who over the product take the customer feedback, work on the product, and improve. So that's more of a customer centered firm. However, product center firm. Sorry.
So mainly service-oriented industries could be customer-centered, right?
Not only service. You see, even companies like Maruti. So Maruti is more of a customer-centric firm. So based on the customer feedback, based on the customer experience, they make changes in the product. So it's not that okay for. It depends on how you want to put your visibility in the market. So that's how I see it.
Okay, thanks.
Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So with that, we have completed the first subunit of the first unit, strategic management and planning. Can you all now reflect back what we have studied from a key topics point of view? Are these things clear? Can we quickly read this out? So are you all clear what is strategy, what is strategic management, planning? Anyone who can differentiate between what is target market and what is strategic market? Target market we were talking about.
Focus area, specific market.
Yeah, sorry, may I request you to please call out name. We are doing a quick revision. We'll see if time permits, then only we'll start globalization. Otherwise, we'll take a pause and we will start globalization tomorrow. So let's revise it. Let's think that we are revising it, and with that we will wrap up the session. Don't worry. Maybe we'll wrap up 10 minutes before also. No worries. Okay, so may I request whoever is not speaking, keep yourself on mute, and all those whoever participate, please call out your name first and then speak. Okay. We'll go slow. So what is target market and what is strategic market? Anyone? Volunteer?
Yeah, Shan here.
Shan,
so strategic market is mainly for target market. Strategic market is a holistic market, and target market is focused market.
Yes. So you can say target market is more for a segment, more for a particular product line, more for a product category. Strategic market is more, let's say, from an industry point of view, from an overall perspective, right? A bigger picture, you can say. Okay. So, sorry, there's some disturbance. Someone is flipping on the papers. So may I request you to keep yourself on mute? Yeah. Okay. The next is, what is the concept of SBU? Are we all clear with SBU? Any volunteer who can tell what is SBU, Strategic Business Unit?
Dhriti this side. SBU is basically an individual business unit which has its segregate policy, maybe budget and personnel. Separately, planning is being done for that particular business unit.
Okay, not only planning, or normally we'll have a separate profit.
Separate profit, separate budgeting, everything separate.
Yeah. So does it? So Dhriti, just one last question on this SBU. Does it? You will see SBUs and normally in a small organization, normally in a large organization, which into multiple business. And what's the purpose of SBU? Why we are doing SBU? Yeah.
Ideally, they'll be seen into large organizations because there you can focus particularly on that business unit where you can assess the cost, you can assess how it is going, whether it is a profitable unit or it is going into losses. So everything will be separate. That will be easier to maintain the, to monitor it and to maintain the accounts and everything, because everything is separate.
So we are saying that strategic business unit, we are trying to make people more accountable, responsible, and have a more strategy to respective business unit so that we can expand in that particular division or product line that we are focusing on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right, great.
Can I add?
Please go ahead, Amit.
So basically, in a case when you identify different set of customers, which are having different needs, so that means you have a different segment, which you need to define as a different SBU, so that you have different customer, different competitors in the market to serve upon.
Yeah, I mean, that is one way of saying it again. So you can say that based on the customer needs, we have a different category of suppliers or different business lines, and so we are doing it. So yeah, but yes, pretty much we have understood what is SBU. Now moving on, strategic control measure effectiveness is measured at what are the two things we measure strategic control measures? People call out your name. Amit, not you. Let her give opportunity to others as well. Abhinav,
Vijaya.
Yeah, Vijaya, please.
It's at external effectiveness and internal efficiency.
Internal effectiveness level.
Within this, we monitor at BU level, operating system level, and department level.
Okay. So anyone who can give example to me, which are good participants. Now, any other participant, guys, when we talk about BU level from an external effectiveness point of view, strategic control measure, what is the key thing that we look for? BU level, guys. External. I'm talking about external.
Jacqueline,
Jacqueline, go ahead. The market share is a classic example. Okay, Jacqueline, another one to you. If we talk about internal effectiveness level, internal effectiveness level for BU.
Profit.
It is
financial results.
Financial results, right? Perfect. Okay, now if we talk about business operating system, okay, so at a external effectiveness level from a strategic control measures point of view, what are we looking at?
Business
external.
Customer satisfaction.
Oh, you guys have to call out your name, guys. You have to call out your name.
Cheyenne, customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction. Wonderful. So when I ask you at an internal level, what are you looking for? At a business operating system?
Jacqueline, it's flexibility.
Flexibility
and internal efficiency, right?
Right.
Okay. So then we are talking about department level. So when we talk about department work center level from an external effectiveness point of view, volunteer, what we focus on? Anyone?
Delivery and
Dhriti, you have to call out your name, please. You have to call out your name, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, department level or work center level, it is
quality and delivery. Dhriti.
Quality and delivery. Okay. And if from an internal efficiency point of view, anyone? Not Dhriti, you, any new person? Lavina, Govardhan, Anu,
Jacqueline,
Shrikant? Yeah, Jacqueline.
cycle time and waste.
Cycle time and waste. Perfect. So strategic goals, guys. Who defines strategic goals? Is it the lower level manager, middle level manager?
Higher
Top
level
level.
management.
Higher
Senior
level management.
managers.
It's the senior manager, right. So tactical goals, it's by senior manager or lower manager?
Middle managers.
Okay, it's middle manager. Okay. Operational goals, is it the senior manager or
Lower
middle manager?
level.
Lower manager.
Lower managers.
Okay. So strategic goals, guys, it's mostly from overall perspective. Tactical goals, how do we achieve those strategic goals? Operational goals, more short term and helps us in clear measurement on how do we achieve it, right? How do we achieve those targets which boil up to our tactical goals and then eventually help us to achieve the strategic goals. Under phase for organization planning, the first important phase is, anyone?
Mission.
How do we start with? Shrikant?
Plan development. Tanu here. Plan development.
Oh, no. Under organization planning, the first step that we do is defining the
Mission statement.
defining the mission statement. Who does that?
Mission statement.
Board of directors.
Okay. So then we have understood what is management by objectives and management by means. By management or by objectives, what we are trying to define the objectives. Okay, this is what we are trying to achieve. Management by means helps us in how do we
implementation
achieve those. Okay. So then we have understood 4 types of synergies, right, guys? So what were the 4 types of synergy? Can you all read it together?
Market
synergy, cost synergy, technological synergy,
synergy,
management.
Okay, so let's have each volunteer in now. Market synergy example, guys. Market synergy. Any key example?
Malls, departmental stores.
Sorry, just 1 second, guys. You have to call out your name, please. Okay, I know you may have to repeat it, but the reason is others should know who is speaking. That's one, and let's give opportunity to others also to speak. That's the reason. In case a person is not participating, I'll chip in him and would like to him or her to also participate. That's the reason. Okay, so again, market synergy. Who is the person going to give the example?
Bhanu this side.
Bhanu,
Departmental store.
Department stores. Okay, which helps us to give more
supply products to the
products and service products, and which can increase the market share. Okay, great. So that's market synergy. Okay, so cost synergy. Anyone? Any example on cost synergy? Sorry, please go ahead. Saishi, you want to go? Nitin, you want to go ahead? Abhinav, Yogendra,
Ankita here.
Ankita, go ahead. Cost synergy.
So it is basically for reduction of cost, and it includes any introduction of any recycling of byproducts or
recycling products. Okay, great. So then technological strategy. Anyone? Technological strategy synergy. Sorry, technological synergy.
Govardhan Rao here. Adoption of new technology.
Adoption of new technology or technology transfers also, right? Yeah. So then we are talking about management synergy. Management synergy. What was the key thing?
Ayushi here. It's knowledge of transfer.
Knowledge transfer
To the entire unit.
And also one important thing that we have understood from management synergy is if we are lacking the skill set, hire the manager. Okay, so that's again a management synergy. Okay, so I think we are all clear with synergy. Then we understood operation strategy. So what were the 5 types of operation strategy, folks?
Cost, quality, delivery,
service.
So I think we're clear with cost strategy, quality strategy, delivery strategy, flexibility strategy. What is there, guys? Under flexibility strategy, we are giving
a price band. We are giving on this side.
Yeah, we are giving more options, right? The price range, the products, the services, all of it, right? So that's more from a flexibility strategy point of view. Service strategy, it's more from after sales service. After sales service. Could be a classic example on that. So then we have understood competitive strategies. There at a scope level, we have scope is defined at
broad and narrow.
Broad and narrow.
And advantage is that as a low cost or unique product, right? Okay. So can anyone tell me cost leadership? Cost leadership is a broad or narrow? Broad. Differentiation is broad or narrow?
Broad and unique product.
Yeah. So I think we are all clear. So okay. So now coming on growth share matrix, SBU representing cash cow, dogs, question mark, stars. Anyone? Cash cow. What is it? Cash cow, high BGR,
High-
low BGR,
High,
MS.
high
MS, low
MS
BGR.
and low BGR.
MS and low BGR.
Dogs,
Low
Low
BGR and
BGR,
low
low
MS.
market
Low
share.
BGR.
question marks,
Low
Low
MS,
Low
high
MS and high BGR.
BGR.
low market share and high BGR. Okay. Stars,
High BGR
Both
high
and
market share,
high.
high BGR.
whole strategy we will follow a whole strategy in which particular category? Hold. We'll hold
Cash
for
cows.
In strong
Cash
cash
One
cows.
strong cash
Cash
flows.
cow.
Cash cows.
harvest. What will in harvest? What we will do? Harvest.
Question mark
In
can be harvested into stars or cash cows eventually.
Okay. And so harvest will
And
follow
dog.
for weak cash
to
cows, question marks,
maximize.
and stars. Right.
Big cash cow.
So
Yeah.
build strategy will normally follow for question marks and
Question marks and
stars. Build strategy. We are
stars.
following the build strategy, right? Okay. And divest will divest basically mostly in case of
Dogs.
dogs and question marks also.
Question marks.
Okay. So then we had competitive strategies in Porter 5 courses where we have understood rivalry among established firms, bargaining with the customers, suppliers, and relating with the competitive strategy. And then we have understood firm orientation. What were the 4 types of firm orientation?
Product
Product
centered,
Competitor
competitor
centered,
centered, customer
customer and
centered,
market
market centered.
All right, guys. So I think
Product-centric, competitor-centric,
all right, great.
customer and market-centric.
Great. So guys, I think globalization will pick as a topic tomorrow, and we'll pick do the MCQs. But before completing the content, we'll just do the things to remember slide, which is important, which is again sort of a revision of what we have studied. So we'll just quickly, I want to follow the tradition. You read all of you, unmute yourself, read the underlined part. I will read non-underlined part, and with that, we will wrap up today's session. Tomorrow we'll revise with it, and then we start with globalization, and then we will practice the MCQs, and with that we'll complete unit 1 end to end. Okay, so are you all with me? Can we do this ritual and we do the things to remember quickly? Are you all with me?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start, guys. Strategic control measures related to external effectiveness at BU level,
Market share.
Market share.
at business operating system level,
Customer satisfaction
and
And
flexibility.
flexibility.
at department work center. Sorry, I could hear only 2 voices, and I can easily know. Okay, it's Vijaya, Dhriti, and Soumya speaking. So there are 20 plus folks. So Lavina, Jacqueline, Dhyana, Abhinav, Yogendra, Shikant. So this is last 2-3 minutes, guys. Let's participate. Let's try to just remember the things to remember, and with that we'll wrap up. So let's do again. Strategic control measures related to internal effectiveness at BU level,
Financial results.
business operating system level,
Flexibility and internal efficiency.
Internal efficiency.
at department work center level,
Cycle time and waste.
market synergy. The keyword
Products.
is
Products or services have positive complementary effects.
synergy,
Reduces cost.
Haji synergy,
Transfer technology among
Among applications.
management synergy,
Knowledge transfer.
leadership, under
Brand
power
Broad
leadership,
scope.
Market.
differentiation strategy,
Broad scope of
Market.
focused cost,
Narrow scope of
Market.
focused differentiation.
narrow scope.
Market.
Okay. So then under dogs, guys, dogs are low
Market share
and low
weak competitors.
These are weak
Weak
competitors.
competitors.
Question marks, guys. Question marks.
Low market share
Market share, high BGR,
and weak needs cash.
Weak needs
Weak
cash.
cash needs.
Cash cows.
High market share, low BGR.
and strong
Competitors.
Then we have stars. Stars are
high
Market share and high BGR.
strong competitors.
Competitors.
competitors need cash.
So whole strategy we apply for.
Cash cows.
Strategy we apply for.
Question marks with
Potentials to be a star.
Star.
Harvest strategy we apply for.
Weak
Cash
Cash
cows.
cows, question marks and dogs.
Divest strategy we apply for.
Question
Question
marks
marks
and
and
dogs.
dogs.
Finally, firm orientation, product centered or
Products.
product oriented. Competitor centered or
Competitor actions.
Actions.
customer centered.
Customer development and
delivering
delivering.
And delivering value.
Market centered.
Combination of
Then competitors.
All right, guys. So with that, I
Send
think,
you the mail tomorrow.
sorry, may I request you to keep yourself on mute now? All right. So folks, with that, we have completed the first subunit of Unit 1, Strategic Management and Planning. Tomorrow, we are going to do globalization. I can request you all to attend tomorrow's session with a similar way and a lot of participations. What we are going to do, we cover globalizations, then we'll practice some of the MCQs right in the session, and we'll deliberate on what went good, what didn't went well. So we are going to cover end-to-end Unit 1, and we'll complete it tomorrow. So with that, I would like to wrap up today's session. Unless and until there's any other doubt, thank you so much for joining in. See you all in tomorrow's session, next session.